Bro crashed into a different fucking universe, landed face first in dirt, said ow, then proceeded to body slam 10,000 dragons, delete an immortal wizard, beat the Dragon King into the ground, and still had time to riz Urza Scarlet? The Magic Council called him a natural disaster. They weren't wrong.
The sky above the fourth great ninja war tore open like a wound that refused to heal. Kaguya Otsutsuki floated in the center of her own dimension, a goddess of bone-white skin and ringed eyes, ripping holes in reality the way a child tears paper. Sasuke was down. Sakura was screaming. Kakashi-sensei had blood running from under his headband, and his Sharingan was fading fast. And Naruto Uzumaki, 17 years old, covered in dirt and dried blood, golden chakra blazing around him like a second sun, charged straight at a god. "Kurama, one more! You're insane, Kit! That's not a no!" He threw himself at the dimensional rift Kaguya opened beneath his feet, but instead of falling into a lake of acid or a desert of bone, the portal twisted. Something cracked in the fabric of space-time itself. The rift folded inward. Kaguya's eyes widened. Even she hadn't expected this. The portal ate Naruto Uzumaki whole, and then it spat him out somewhere else entirely. He hit the ground at roughly the speed of a comet, cratered a dirt road outside a coastal town, and lay there for about 6 seconds before sitting up, spitting out a mouthful of gravel and saying the first words ever spoken by a shinobi in the land of Earthland. Ow. The town was called Harjan. It smelled like fish and salt air, and it was loud in a way that had nothing to do with war. People were shouting, market vendors, sailors arguing. Somewhere a girl was squealing about somebody called Salamander. Naruto stood up in his crater and looked around. The sky was wrong. 2 moons instead of 1. The air tasted different, sweeter, thicker, like breathing in warm honey. And the energy that saturated everything around him wasn't chakra. It was something else, something lighter. It flowed through the atmosphere like invisible rivers, coating everything in a shimmer he could only feel with his sage training. "This isn't our world," Kurama said inside his mind, and his voice carried the weight of a being who had existed for over 1,000 years. "Yeah, I figured that out when the sky looked wrong. Your chakra network is adjusting. Whatever this energy is, it's pushing against your system like an ocean current. You're operating at maybe 20%. 20%. Maybe less." Naruto cracked his neck, rolled his shoulders, looked at the town ahead. 20% of me is still me. That's what worries me. His stomach growled loud enough to echo off the buildings. First things first. He walked into Harjan town with no money, no plan, and no idea that this world had its own problems. He was about to become every single one of them. The commotion in the harbor district was easy to find. Just follow the screaming girls. Some smooth-talking idiot in a cape was standing on a boat, surrounded by women with heart-shaped eyes, waving his hand around while purple fire danced from his fingers. "Salamander-sama!" they shrieked. The man ate it up like candy. Naruto watched from the dock, chewing a stolen fish skewer. The vendor had turned away for exactly 2 seconds, which was 1 second too many, and squinted at the scene. "That fire's fake," he said out loud. A blonde girl next to him whipped her head around. She was clutching a ring of keys at her belt, and her eyes were clear. She wasn't under the charm spell the other girls seemed trapped in. "You can tell. Lady, I fought people who breathe fire that melts mountains. That guy's flames couldn't warm up ramen." The blonde girl, Lucy, though he didn't know that yet, stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "Who are you?" "Naruto Uzumaki." He took another bite of fish. "Who's the fraud on the boat?" "He says he's Salamander from Fairy Tale, but I don't think. He's lying." "How do you?" "Because liars always move their hands too much, and he's got a charm ring on his right hand that's messing with all those girls' heads." Naruto pointed with his skewer. "Sensor training. I can feel the energy pulse from here." Lucy's mouth fell open. Then she frowned. "That's illegal." "Yeah." Naruto finished his fish. "Probably." He wasn't planning on getting involved. He had his own problems. New world, no way home, chakra network acting like a clogged pipe. He needed food, information, and about 16 hours of sleep. The universe, as always, had other plans. Night fell. Naruto was sitting on a rooftop, old habits from Konoha, when he heard the scream. It came from the harbor. The boat, the fake salamander, had lured a dozen girls onto his vessel, and now the sails were up and they were heading out to sea. The charm had worn off. The girls were screaming. And the blonde one, Lucy, was in the middle of it all, fighting back. Ah, crap. You could ignore it. Could I? No, you're you. Naruto sighed, stood up, and vanished from the rooftop. He hit the deck of the ship at the same time. A pink-haired maniac crashed through the ceiling. The pink-haired kid, somewhere around Naruto's age, wearing a scarf and a sleeveless jacket, had motion sickness so bad he was green. He also had fists that were literally on fire. Real fire. The heat hit Naruto's face and he grinned. That was the real thing. Natsu! A flying blue cat shouted from above. Happy! Natsu gagged, stumbled, and punched a mercenary in the face purely on instinct. The mercenary went through a wall. I hate boats! The fake salamander, Bora as it turned out, snarled. Get them! All of them! 20 mercenaries pulled weapons. Swords, axes, clubs. They fanned out across the deck. The captured girls scrambled backward. Natsu was too busy being seasick to fight properly. Lucy had pulled out a golden key and was summoning something. Naruto watched a wave of water burst up from the ocean in the shape of a woman. Interesting. Different world, different tricks. The mercenaries split. 10 toward Natsu, 10 toward Naruto. Naruto was still holding a second fish skewer he'd stolen from the ship's galley on his way through. The first mercenary swung a broadsword at his head. Naruto tilted left. The blade whiffed past his ear. He snapped a palm strike into the man's sternum and launched him off the ship like a cannonball. Splash! Gone. The second and third came together. Naruto stepped between them, caught one by the wrist, redirected his swing into his partner, and swept both their legs. They hit the deck unconscious. 4 through 7 rushed him at once. Naruto took a bite of fish, ducked a club, cracked an elbow into a jaw, kneed someone in the gut, and flipped the last one over his shoulder into the ocean. He chewed, swallowed. 8, 9, and 10 hesitated. Naruto looked at them. They dropped their weapons and jumped overboard. Smart, he said. Natsu, draped over the railing and looking like death warmed over, stared with wide eyes. Did you just... while eating? Naruto finished the skewer. Bora's face had gone white. He raised both hands and fire erupted, a massive column of purple flame that roared toward Naruto with enough heat to melt steel. He's actually trying, Kurama said with something that might have been amusement. Naruto didn't even bother with a hand sign. He extended his right palm and focused. The Rasengan formed in 3 seconds. A spinning blue sphere of concentrated chakra, screaming like a miniature typhoon, so dense the air warped around it. He walked forward, into the fire. The flames hit the Rasengan and split. They went around him like river water around a boulder. The sphere ground through Bora's attack like it was tissue paper. The fire mage had about half a second to realize his best shot meant absolutely nothing before Naruto closed the distance and drove the Rasengan into his gut. Rasengan. The impact was absurd. Bora's body folded around the sphere, then launched backward in a spiral. He hit the ship's mast. The mast snapped. He kept going. Off the ship, across 60 feet of open water, and into the harbor wall. The stone cracked in a spiderweb pattern. Bora didn't get up. The ship rocked from the force. Lucy stood with her mouth hanging open, happy. The flying cat had stopped midair. Natsu forgot he was seasick. He was on his feet, flames dancing in his eyes, and the grin on his face was the grin of a man who had just found his new favorite person in the entire world. That was awesome! What was that? Fight me! Naruto blinked, looked at this loud, pink-haired, fire-breathing lunatic who was demanding a fight after watching him ragdoll 20 guys in a mage. He liked this kid immediately. Later, Salamander. Naruto grinned back. Buy me food first. Deal! Lucy watched this exchange with the expression of someone who had just realized her life was about to get significantly louder. She was right. The Rune Knights showed up about 30 seconds later. Sirens, shouts, a lot of pointing at the destroyed harbor wall, the unconscious mercenaries floating in the water. And the shattered mast. Natsu grabbed Lucy's hand. Time to go! Go where? Fairy Tail! Naruto fell into step beside them because honestly, where else was he going to go? A guild of loud, reckless idiots, Kurama observed. You'll fit right in. Shut up, Kurama. Fairy Tail was everything Naruto didn't know he needed. The guild hall in Magnolia Town was enormous, a castle-sized building with a massive banner, and a front door that never seemed to close because somebody was always crashing through it. The noise hit him the moment they walked in. Shouting, laughing, the crack of a bar stool breaking over someone's head. A man in his underwear was walking around like that was completely normal. A woman at the bar was drinking from a barrel. Naruto stood in the doorway and felt something in his chest unlock. It was loud, chaotic, full of people who fought each other for fun and then bought each other drinks afterward. It was the kind of place that looked like it was barely held together by stubbornness and love. It felt like home. "Welcome to Fairy Tail," Natsu shouted, and then he immediately kicked a dark-haired guy in the back of the head, which started a brawl that involved 14 people within the first 4 seconds. Naruto watched a table fly past his face, dodged a flying mug, caught a chair someone threw at his head and set it down gently. A tiny old man sat on the bar counter, watching the chaos with the patience of someone who had seen this exact scene play out 10,000 times. He had white hair, a ridiculous hat, and eyes that were sharper than his size suggested. "And who might you be, young man?" "Naruto Uzumaki." He paused. "I punched through a harbor wall earlier. Sorry about that." "Ah, yes. I got the complaint from the council already." The old man, Makarov, third master of Fairy Tail, took a sip of beer. "Fastest complaint in history, actually. You made an impression." "I tend to do that." Makarov studied him. The old man's eyes were deceptively casual, but Naruto could feel the probe, a gentle pulse of magical energy sweeping over him, trying to read his power. The probe hit Naruto's chakra and bounced off like a ping-pong ball hitting a mountain. Makarov's eye twitched, just slightly, but enough. "What kind of magic do you use, boy?" "It's called chakra, and it's a long story. I like long stories, especially from people who feel like..." Makarov trailed off. His expression had shifted from curiosity to something deeper, something approaching respect. "You feel like an ocean boy, an ocean pretending to be a puddle." Naruto grinned. "I'm just me, old man." Makarov held out a stamp. "Fairy Tail could use someone like you, if you're interested." Naruto looked around the guild hall. Natsu was headbutting Gray. The underwear guy, Gray apparently, was throwing ice at Natsu's face. Lucy was huddled behind the bar, looking overwhelmed. A woman with long white hair was smiling at the chaos like it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. "Yeah," Naruto said. "I'm interested." He got the Fairy Tail guild mark on his right shoulder. Orange, because of course it was orange. Mirajane, the white-haired woman behind the bar, pressed the stamp and gave him a warm smile. "Welcome to the family, Naruto." He touched the mark. It was warm on his skin. Warmer than it should have been. Family. He'd heard that word a lot. From Iruka-sensei, from Jiraiya, from Team 7. Every time he thought he'd lost one, the universe gave him another. "You're getting sentimental," Kurama grumbled. "Shut up. You're part of this family too." "I refuse." Too late. The first few days were spent learning. Naruto figured out 3 things fast. 1. This world ran on magic, which was similar to chakra but lighter, more dispersed, and tied to emotions rather than physical energy. Mages drew power from the Ethernano in the atmosphere and channeled it through learned spells. It was more rigid than the shinobi system, more structured, less raw. 2. Nature energy was everywhere, thicker than in the elemental nations. Sage mode would work perfectly here once his network stabilized. 3. Fairy Tail was insane, and he loved every second of it. Natsu challenged him to a fight 4 times in the first 2 days. Naruto kept saying, "After I finish eating," and Natsu kept falling for it because Naruto never actually finished eating. Gray kept trying to analyze his abilities. "Your power isn't magic. I can feel that much. It's denser, heavier, like, I don't know, like the difference between a breeze and a hurricane compressed into a person." "That's surprisingly poetic, Gray." "Shut up. And where are your clothes?" Gray looked down. Shirtless again. He swore and went looking for his jacket. Kinda drank with him, or tried to. Naruto's Uzumaki constitution meant alcohol burned off almost instantly. She went through 2 barrels trying to outdrink him and then passed out. He carried her to a bench and put a blanket over her. Elfman kept shouting about what was manly and what wasn't. Naruto decided this was the weirdest compliment system he'd ever encountered, and he'd grown up with Rock Lee. And then Urza Scarlet came back. He felt her before he saw her. The guild was doing its usual afternoon routine. Arguing, fighting. Natsu and Gray going at it for the 6th time that day, when the front doors opened and the entire building went silent. Dead silent. Natsu and Gray froze mid-punch. They were suddenly sitting side by side, arms around each other. Best friends in the whole world. Please don't kill us. Urza's back, Happy whispered, and the cat was trembling. The woman who walked in was carrying a massive decorated horn, some kind of trophy from a mission, on one shoulder, and she was wearing silver armor that caught the light and threw it back like a challenge. Red hair fell past her shoulders in a straight curtain of scarlet. Her eyes were dark and sharp and carried the weight of someone who had earned the right to make entire guilds go quiet just by entering a room. She set the horn down with a thud that shook the floor. "I have returned," she announced. "I trust there have been no problems in my absence." Nobody breathed. Naruto, who was sitting on the bar eating a bowl of ramen Mirajan had made him, looked up. He saw the armor. He saw the posture, rigid, controlled, every movement calculated to project strength. He saw the way her eyes moved, scanning for threats even in her own guild hall. He saw the way her jaw was set, always set, like she hadn't unclenched it in years. And he recognized every single bit of it, because he'd worn the same mask, the grin instead of armor, the loudness instead of silence. Different methods, same purpose. Keep people from looking too close. Keep the hurt buried where it couldn't slow you down. Something in his chest shifted. "Interesting," Kurama said, and his tone was different. Quieter, almost gentle. "She's carrying something heavy, kid." "Yeah, I know." Urza's gaze swept the guild and stopped on him. New face, unfamiliar, sitting on the bar like he owned it, chopsticks in hand, meeting her stare without flinching. Most people looked away when Urza looked at them. It was a survival instinct. Naruto tilted his head and grinned. "Hey, you must be the one everyone's terrified of." The guild held its collective breath. Urza's eyes narrowed. "And you are?" "Naruto Uzumaki, new member." He held up his bowl. "Want some ramen? It's really good." A pause. The kind of pause where worlds shift on their axis and nobody notices. Then Urza said, "Is that Mirajane's special recipe?" "Yeah." "I'll have a bowl." She sat next to him at the bar. The guild stared. Natsu's jaw was on the floor. Gray looked like he was witnessing a solar eclipse. They ate ramen in comfortable silence. Two people who understood that sometimes you don't need words. You just need someone who isn't afraid to sit next to you. The lullaby crisis brought them together properly. Urza burst into the guild 2 days later with urgency etched into her face. She needed Natsu and Gray for a mission. Dangerous, potentially catastrophic. A cursed flute called Lullaby, a weapon of the dark mage Zeref, was in the hands of a dark guild called Eisenwald, and they were planning to use it to kill the guildmasters at their regular conference. "We leave immediately," Urza commanded. "I'm coming," Naruto said. It wasn't a request. Urza turned to him. Their eyes met. She was going to argue. She could feel it building behind her teeth. She didn't know this person. She didn't know his abilities. Bringing an unknown into a high-stakes mission was irresponsible, but something about the way he stood, relaxed, casual, and yet giving off the faint impression of a blade still in its sheath, made her hesitate. "You will follow my orders," she said. "Sure," he smiled. "Unless your orders are bad, then I'll improvise." Urza's eye twitched. Natsu and Gray both winced, expecting her to requip a sword and remove Naruto's head from his shoulders. Instead, she almost smiled. Almost. "Then don't make me give bad orders." They boarded the train. Natsu immediately collapsed from motion sickness. Gray sat by the window, looking cool. Lucy clutched her keys nervously. Urza ate a slice of strawberry cake with the reverence of a priestess performing a sacred ritual. Naruto sat across from her and watched the countryside blur past. "So," he said, "what's Lullaby actually do?" "It's a death curse. Anyone who hears its song dies." "Huh. We had something like that back home, except it was a genjutsu, and you could break out of it if your chakra control was good enough." He paused. "Or if someone punched you hard enough." "Your home sounds violent." "Lady, you have no idea." There was a flicker of something in Urza's eyes. Curiosity. Maybe recognition. "You're from somewhere very different, aren't you?" "Different world. Literally." He said it plainly. No drama. Just a fact. She studied him. Most people would have pressed for details, would have demanded proof or shown doubt. Urza simply nodded. That explains why your energy feels unlike anything I've encountered. Kurama says the magic here is like breathing different air. Same concept, different flavor. Kurama? My partner. He lives inside me. Naruto tapped his stomach. Giant fox demon. 9 tails. Terrible attitude. Great in a fight. The train car went very quiet. You have a demon sealed inside you? Lucy squeaked from behind her seat. Kurama's a tailed beast, and he's not really a demon. He's more like... Naruto thought about it. A grumpy old soldier who's been through too much and expresses affection through insults. I will destroy everything you love, Kurama said. See? Affection. Urza was watching him with an expression that was hard to read. Hard for anyone except Naruto, who was very good at reading the people who tried hardest to be unreadable. You carry something like that inside you, she said quietly, and you still smile. Had a lot of practice. Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary. Then Urza looked away, reached for her cake, and the moment passed. But it didn't disappear. It settled between them like an ember that would grow. Eisenwald took over the Oshibana train station. Aragorn, the Shinigami of the Dark Guild, was a wind mage with an ego problem and a scythe. He sealed the station in a wind barrier and his lackeys flooded the building. The team split up. Natsu chased Aragorn. Gray handled the barrier. Lucy fought some guy with a weird carpet thing. Naruto walked down the main corridor of the station and encountered about 30 Eisenwald members who had set up a blockade. They saw him. One guy, bright orange and black outfit, blonde hair, whisker marks on his cheeks. He looked like a teenager who got lost on his way to a costume party. Get him, their leader said. Naruto cracked his knuckles. You know, back where I come from, I fought an army, like an actual army, thousands of people. Zombies, actually. Reanimated legendary ninja. There was a guy with a fan that shot fire, and another guy who could make bones grow out of his body, and I'm pretty sure one of them was technically a god. He looked at the 30 mages. So, sorry in advance. The first one threw a bolt of lightning magic at his face. Naruto sidestepped it without looking, closed the distance in a burst of speed that most of them couldn't even track, and dropped the guy with a single palm strike to the chest. The mage's body skidded backward 12 feet and didn't move. 2 seconds. One down. The rest came at once. Naruto moved through them like wind through tall grass. A knee to a stomach, an elbow to a jaw, a spinning heel kick that caught 3 of them at once and sent them pinwheeling into the wall. He redirected a fire spell back at its caster with a casual flick of chakra. He caught a sword between 2 fingers, yes, 2 fingers, and snapped the blade. 15 seconds. 30 mages, all of them on the ground. He hadn't even used a jutsu. The corridor was silent except for the sound of groaning. 30 was generous, Kurama said. They counted as maybe 3. Be nice, they tried. They really didn't. Urza found him standing alone in the corridor, surrounded by unconscious bodies, hands in his pockets, looking mildly bored. She stopped, looked at the bodies, looked at him. Her eyes widened by a fraction. You did this? They were in the way. She scanned the scene. 30 mages. Some of them A-class threats by Eisenwald's internal ranking. All of them down. No property damage beyond some cracked tile. No injuries on Naruto. He hadn't even broken a sweat. What are you, boy? She breathed. Hungry, mostly. He turned to her. Did you find the flute? She shook herself. Refocused. Aragorn has it. He's heading for the Guildmasters Conference. Then let's go. They caught up to Aragorn outside the conference town of Clover. Natsu had already found him, and the fight was, well, it was Natsu. Loud, explosive, all instinct and fury. Fire dragon roar lit up the sky. Iron fist cracked the ground. Natsu fought like a berserker who'd been told his opponent insulted his scarf. But Aragorn was fast. Wind magic gave him flight and evasion, and his storm-mail defense repelled Natsu's fire like a wall. Urza stepped forward, ready to requip. Naruto put a hand on her shoulder. Let him finish. He's close. He's struggling. No, he's learning. Naruto watched with eyes that had trained under Jiraiya, fought beside Killer Bee, and gone toe-to-toe with Madara Uchiha. His instincts are incredible. Give him 30 more seconds. Urza looked at him, then back at the fight. Natsu roared. Fire dragon, brilliant flame. A massive sphere of fire erupted from both hands and slammed into Aragorn's windmail. The wind wavered. Cracked. Natsu punched through the gap with a flaming fist and caught Aragorn square in the jaw. The wind mage hit the ground hard enough to bounce. Told you, Naruto said. Urza stared at him with an expression that was part disbelief and part something warmer. But the mission wasn't over. Because the flute hit the ground and the seal on it cracked, and Lullaby decided that if no one was going to play it, it would play itself. The demon erupted from the flute like a nightmare given form. Lullaby was massive, a towering creature of wood and shadow, hundreds of feet tall, its body covered in glowing runes, and its 3 eyes burning with malice. The guildmasters, dozens of the most powerful mages on the continent, stared up at it from the conference hall balcony. Makarov's face went hard. Bob of Blue Pegasus looked ready to fight. Goldmine of Quattro Cerberus cracked his knuckles. The demon opened its mouth, and the first notes of the death curse began. The sound was wrong. It wasn't music. It was the sound of everything ending. The sound of silence spreading outward like a plague. Every blade of grass wilted. Birds fell from the sky. The guild masters clapped their hands over their ears. Naruto was already moving. He landed in front of the guild master's balcony, one massive jump that covered 200 feet, and slapped his palms together. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 100 Narutos exploded into existence. The guild master stumbled backward. 100 identical blondes spread across the field in formation, every one of them grinning the same grin. You, what? How? Makarov sputtered. The real Naruto turned to Urza, who was sprinting toward the demon with a sword already drawn. He caught her wrist, gently. Cover your ears. What? He smiled. It was the smile of someone about to do something completely unreasonable. Trust me. She didn't know why she did. They'd known each other for days, but she covered her ears. But the clones covered the guildmaster's ears. Lucy, Gray, Natsu, Happy Da. Naruto closed his eyes. When they opened, they were different. Orange pigment ringed his eyelids. His pupils were horizontal slits. The air around him became heavier, thicker, charged with something that made every mage within a mile feel like gravity had doubled. Sage mode. Now you're serious, Kurama said, and there was a rumble of approval in his voice. Kurama. Yeah? Let's show them what a real monster looks like. Kurama laughed. It shook Naruto's ribcage. The golden chakra cloak ignited. It started at his core and exploded outward. Golden light. Blazing, brilliant, warm gold that poured off him like a sunrise given human form. The black markings of the Nine-Tails chakra mode traced lines across his body. His eyes shifted. Vertical slits over horizontal, a cross-shaped fusion of sage and tailed beast, Biju Sage mode. The guildmasters felt it. Every single one of them. This wasn't magic. This was something older, something vast, something that made their own power feel like candlelight next to a bonfire. Makarov's beer mug slipped from his fingers and shattered on the balcony floor. What is he? The old man whispered. Lullaby turned its 3 burning eyes toward the golden figure below. The demon paused its death song. Something in its ancient, cursed brain registered a threat it hadn't anticipated. Naruto raised his right hand. The Rasen Shuriken formed above his palm. A spinning disc of wind and chakra, screaming like a circular saw made of hurricanes, so bright it cast shadows in every direction. The wind tore at the ground around him, carving trenches in a spiral pattern. Wind style. The demon roared and swung a fist the size of a building. Naruto threw. Rasen Shuriken! The technique hit Lullaby's center mass. What happened next became a story that the guild masters would tell for the rest of their lives. What happened next became the moment that the name Naruto Uzumaki entered the consciousness of Earthland's magical community. The Rasen Shuriken expanded on impact. A sphere of invisible wind blades, millions of them, cutting at the cellular level, erupted outward. The demon's body came apart, its cursed wood shredded, its runes exploded. Its 3 eyes went wide with something that might have been fear if demons could feel fear. The sphere expanded to 300 feet in diameter. Then it detonated. The shockwave flattened every tree for a quarter mile. The ground cratered. Dust and debris shot into the sky in a mushroom cloud that was visible from neighboring towns. The sound, a single, impossibly deep crack, rolled across the landscape like thunder from a god clearing his throat. Where Lullaby had stood, there was nothing. A crater. Smooth, carved clean, deep enough to hold a lake. The cursed flute lay at the bottom, cracked and inert. The death curse was gone. Silence. Absolute, total silence. Then Natsu said, "What the hell was that?" Gray's mouth was opening and closing with no sound coming out. He looked like a fish that had witnessed the end of the world. Lucy had tears streaming down her face, and she didn't even know why. The sheer scale of what she just witnessed had broken something in her understanding of power. Happy was a blue dot hovering in the sky, frozen in place, eyes the size of dinner plates. The guild masters stood on the balcony in a line, and every single one of them wore the same expression. It was the expression of people who had just watched a teenager do with one attack what would have taken all of them working together to accomplish. Makarov stared at the crater, then at Naruto, then at the crater. "He's 17, he said faintly. 18 in October, Naruto called up, golden light fading as he dropped out of Biju Sage mode. He rolled his shoulders. "The demon's dead. Can we eat now? I'm starving." The silence held for 3 more seconds. Then Natsu lost his mind. "That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. You threw a what was that? A spinning wind ball of death, and the whole demon just pooh!" He was screaming, fire coming out of his mouth, running in circles. "It was adequate," Urza said. Her voice was steady. Her hands were shaking. She was looking at Naruto with an expression that she would later refuse to describe, an expression that was somewhere between awe and something far more dangerous. He caught her looking. He smiled. She looked away fast. "She's interesting," Kurama said. "Yeah, she is. You should be careful with that one." "Why?" "Because you're already not being careful." The fallout from Lullaby was immediate. The Magic Council called an emergency session. Reports flooded in from every guild master at the conference. A golden figure. A wind technique that obliterated a Zeref demon in a single hit. Power that felt unlike any magic on record. The name Naruto Uzumaki was added to the council's watch list within 24 hours. Back at the guild, Naruto became a legend overnight. Not because he tried to be, because fairy tale mages could not physically stop themselves from talking about what they'd seen. He was glowing, Mikao told everyone at the bar. Like actually glowing. Gold, head to foot. "There were 100 of him," Wakaba added. 100! They just appeared out of nowhere. "The crater." Natsu slammed his fists on the table. "The crater is still there. I went and looked." Naruto sat in the corner eating his 3rd bowl of ramen and let the stories grow. They always grew. That was fine. What mattered was what happened after. The spar with Urza happened 3 days after Lullaby. She'd been watching him. He knew it. She wasn't subtle about it. Urza Scarlet didn't do subtle, but the intensity of her observation was something else. She was studying him the way a swordswoman studies a blade she doesn't understand. She walked up to him at breakfast, set her plate of strawberry cake down with deliberate care and said, "Fight me." The guild went quiet. Naruto looked up from his ramen. "Now? Now. I haven't finished. Now." He held her gaze. She held his. He grinned. "All right. Urza, let's go." They walked to the training grounds behind the guild. By the time they arrived, every member of Fairy Tail was lined up on the surrounding walls and rooftops. Someone had brought popcorn. Kana was taking bets. 2,000 jewel on Urza, someone said. 5,000 on the new guy, Mikao called back. "Are you insane?" Mikao smiled. "I was at the conference." Urza stood at one end of the field. She drew a single sword, an elegant blade that caught the morning light. Her expression was stone, focused. The Titania was taking this seriously. Naruto stood at the other end, hands in his pockets. "Whenever you're ready," he said. She requipped. Heaven's Wheel armor materialized around her in a flash of light. Silver plate, wings of steel, and behind her, swords, dozens, scores. 200 blades materialized in a circle around her body, floating, spinning slowly, each one aimed at the blonde boy across the field. The crowd gasped. Heaven's Wheel, scattered petals. 200 swords launched at once. They filled the air like a steel rainstorm, every angle covered, every escape route closed. The sound alone, the whistling of 200 blades cutting air simultaneously, was enough to make people flinch. Naruto closed his eyes, Sage Mode activated in a heartbeat. The orange pigment appeared. The world expanded. He felt every blade, their trajectories, their speeds, their rotations. He felt the air currents they displaced. He felt the chakra-like energy that kept them aloft. He moved. The first sword passed his right ear by half an inch. He tilted left and a second sword went under his arm. He stepped forward into the storm. not away from it, and the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth blades missed him by margins so small that the spectators couldn't tell he dodged at all. 10 swords, 20, 50. He walked through the steel rain like it was a spring shower. His body flowed. Each step was exactly where it needed to be. Each lean, each turn, each shift of weight, perfect. The swords buried themselves in the ground behind him in a growing constellation of steel, and he never once opened his eyes. 100 swords, 150. Natsu's popcorn fell out of his hand. Gray forgot to breathe. Makarov, watching from the guild's second-floor window, felt his old bones go cold. He'd seen S-class mages fight. He'd seen the wizard saints in action. He'd seen Gildart shake the earth. This boy was doing something different. This boy was treating 200 of Urza Scarlet's swords like they weren't even there. 200 swords, all spent, every single one embedded in the ground behind Naruto in a perfect outline of where he'd walked. He opened his eyes. He was standing inside Urza's guard, close enough to count her eyelashes. He reached out and tapped her nose with one finger. "Your armor's slowing you down, Urza." The world stopped. Urza's face went through about 6 emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, disbelief, something that might have been anger, then something else, something she buried fast, something warm, something that made her cheeks flush the same color as her hair. She stood frozen. The great Titania of fairy tale, who made dark guilds surrender by reputation alone, stood frozen because a boy had tapped her nose and told her the truth about her armor, and she couldn't find a single word to say. The guild was silent. Then Elfman shouted, "That was the manliest thing I have ever witnessed." The dam broke, screaming, cheering, Kana collecting bets with a grin. Natsu literally breathing fire from excitement. Gray had sat down on the ground because his legs had stopped working. Mikao collected 5,000 jewel. Naruto offered Urza his hand. Good spar. She looked at his hand, looked at his eyes. There was something in those blue eyes that she'd seen in mirrors, the shadow of something painful that he'd learned to carry without bending. She took his hand. "You'll teach me," she said. It wasn't a question. "Teach you what?" "How to fight without the armor." He squeezed her hand once before letting go. "Deal." They walked back to the guild side by side, and neither of them acknowledged the fact that they were walking closer together than strictly necessary. Mira Jane, watching from behind the bar, smiled a smile that knew exactly what was happening, even if the two people involved didn't. The Galuna Island mission was supposed to be simple. It wasn't, because Natsu stole an S-class quest from the second floor and roped Lucy and Happy into going with him. Naruto found out and went along because someone had to keep the fire breather alive, and also the mission description mentioned a cursed island with trapped demons, and honestly that sounded too familiar to ignore. They sailed to Galuna Island on a boat that Natsu almost destroyed via seasickness alone. The island rose from the ocean like a green jewel, tropical, beautiful, wrapped in a purple haze that shimmered under a moon that looked wrong. The villagers were demons. Their bodies had been partially transformed. Horns, claws, discolored skin, tails. They huddled in their village behind makeshift walls and begged the mages for help. "The moon did this to us," the village chief said. His voice carried shame as heavy as chains. "Every night, the purple moon changes us more. We're monsters." Naruto stood at the edge of the village, arms crossed, listening. His face was unreadable. But the people around him, Natsu, Lucy, Happy, they saw something shift in his expression, something that went deeper than sympathy. He knew this feeling, the feeling of being transformed into something against your will, the feeling of an entire village looking at you and seeing a monster. He lived that story. He didn't say anything about it. He just said, "We'll fix it." And the way he said it, flat, certain, like he was describing gravity or sunrise, made every person in that village believe him. The island's secret wasn't complicated. A group of mages led by a guy named Lion was trying to revive a frozen demon called Deliora by bathing it in concentrated moonlight. The demon was sealed in ice by a technique called iced shell, the same technique that had cost Gray's teacher her life. Gray's reaction to discovering this was volcanic. There were tears and shouting and a level of personal anguish that Naruto recognized because he'd been there himself, standing over the bodies of people he loved. Naruto let Gray have his moment. He didn't interfere. But he stayed close enough that Gray knew he was there. "You going to be okay?" Naruto asked when the worst of it had passed. Gray wiped his face with the back of his hand. "I have to stop lying." "Yeah, you do." Naruto clapped him on the shoulder. "Go handle your business. I'll deal with the moon." "The moon? The moon." Gray stared at him. "How are you going to deal with the moon?" Naruto grinned. It was not a reassuring grin. It was the grin of someone who had punched a goddess in the face and was considering doing something equally unreasonable. "Don't worry about it." Gray fought Lion. It was personal. It was brutal. And Gray won, because Gray had something to fight for that went beyond revenge. Naruto could have ended it instantly, but he understood that some fights have to belong to the person fighting them. What Naruto handled was the moon. The problem, as it turned out, wasn't the moon itself. There was a giant lens of crystallized magic energy suspended high above the island, invisible to normal eyes, that was filtering and concentrating the moonlight, creating the purple haze that cursed the villagers. The ruins of a temple on the island's peak were the anchor point. Natsu figured this out by accident. He punched a wall and part of the ceiling showed the sky wrong. Lucy confirmed it with research, but the crystal was hundreds of feet above them, massive and harder than diamond. "So we need to break that?" Natsu asked, looking up. "How?" Lucy said. "It's enormous." "And way up there," Happy added. Naruto stretched his arms over his head, rolled his neck, looked up at the sky. Kurama. "Oh, now you ask nicely. You ready?" "Born ready, Kit." Ninetales chakra mode activated. The golden cloak erupted. It wasn't subtle. It was never subtle. It was a pillar of golden light that shot into the night sky like a flare from the sun itself. The warm light washed over the island, the demon villagers, the temple ruins, the trees and beaches, and everything between. The villagers stumbled out of their homes. They looked up. They saw a figure wrapped in gold, burning like a star standing on the temple peak, and the light that poured off him was the warmest thing they had ever felt. It wasn't just light, it was comfort. It was safety. It was the opposite of everything the purple moon had been. One of the demon children tugged her mother's hand. "Mama, is that a god?" Her mother couldn't answer. She was crying. Naruto extended his hand. Chakra gathered, dense, concentrated, a sphere of pure destruction wrapped in golden light. He threw it upward. The tailed beast ball hit the crystal membrane and the sky split open. The explosion was silent for one heartbeat. Then the sound caught up, a deep, resonant boom that rolled across the ocean for miles. The crystal shattered. Fragments rained down like burning snowflakes, dissolving into ether nano before they touched the ground. The purple moon vanished. In its place, the real moon. Clean, white, normal. And in its light, the demon villagers looked at their hands. Their claws receded. Their horns faded. Their skin returned to normal. The curse was broken. The island erupted in cheers. Decades of suffering ended by a single golden figure on a mountaintop. Naruto let the chakra cloak fade. He sat down heavily on a rock, suddenly exhausted. His chakra network was still adjusting to this world, and burning that hot took a toll. 60% now, Kurama noted. Getting better. Getting there. Urza arrived at dawn. She'd been sent by the master to retrieve the team and punish them for taking an S-class without authorization. She arrived in armor, with a lecture prepared, and a level of fury that could have leveled the island more effectively than Naruto's attack. She landed on the beach. She saw Gray, beaten up but standing. She saw Natsu, passed out in a pile of rubble. She saw Lucy crying happy tears with the demon villagers. And she saw Naruto, sitting on the beach with his back to a palm tree. Golden light still faintly flickering around his edges like dying embers, and the look on his face was the look of someone who had done something that mattered. She forgot every word of her lecture. She walked toward him. He looked up. Their eyes met, and the sunrise was behind her, lighting her scarlet hair on fire, and he thought she was the most beautiful thing he'd seen in either world. "You broke the moon," she said. "I broke the fake moon." "You broke the moon." "Technically, yes." She sat down next to him. Close. Their shoulders touched. "Tell me about your world," she said. And her voice wasn't the Titania's voice. It was softer, curious. The voice of a woman who wanted to know the person beneath the golden light. So he told her. He told her about Konoha, about growing up alone, about the whisker marks on his cheeks and why they were there, about a village that sealed a monster inside a baby and then hated the baby for it, about swings and empty playgrounds and learning to smile because crying didn't change anything. He told her about Iruka-sensei, the first person who saw him, about Jiraiya, the pervy sage who taught him everything and then died for the world, about Sasuke, the brother who betrayed him, the rival who understood him, the bond he refused to break even when everyone told him to. He told her about the war, about fighting gods, about Kurama's grudging respect turning into partnership, about being pulled through a rift and landing in a world that smelled like the ocean. He didn't cry. He didn't perform sadness. He stated facts the way you state the weather. This happened, then this happened, and here I am. But his voice carried the weight of every word, and Urza felt each one, because she had her own version of this story. A tower, chains, a boy with blue hair who promised freedom and delivered betrayal. Armor she'd built around herself because the world had taught her that being soft was the same as being dead. She didn't tell her story. Not yet, but she would. And they both knew it. She reached over and took his hand. His fingers were rough, calloused, warm. They sat there as the sun came up over the ocean, hand in hand, two people who carried the weight of the world and had just discovered that the load was lighter when shared. Neither of them spoke for a long time. It was the best silence Naruto had ever known. "You're in trouble, kid," Kurama said. "Yeah, she's good for you." "Yeah, she is." They returned to the guild. Makarov punished them for the unauthorized mission, suspended privileges, extra chores, the usual. But Naruto caught the old man watching him with an expression that had nothing to do with punishment. "You know," Makarov said privately, standing on his desk so he could meet Naruto's eyes, "in my 70 years as a mage, I have sensed many things. Young, old, light, dark, but I have never sensed anything like you." "That good or bad?" "It's terrifying," Makarov smiled. "But Fairy Tail has always had a fondness for terrifying things. Phantom Lord attacked, nobody expected it. One rival guild assaulting another was practically unheard of. The council forbade it, and the consequences were severe. But Jose Porla, master of Phantom Lord, had been watching Naruto's growing reputation with a combination of jealousy and ambition. He wanted Lucy Heartfilia, a secret heiress worth a fortune, and he wanted to crush the guild that was making his own look irrelevant. The first sign was the guild hall. Team Natsu returned from a mission to find their home destroyed. Iron pillars punched through the walls. The building was ruined, gutted from the inside out, steel rods protruding like bones from a corpse. Nobody was hurt. Makarov said as much. The attack happened at night when the guild was empty. "It's just a building. It can be rebuilt." "Gajeel," Urza said, her voice sharp with recognition. "Black Steel Gajeel of Phantom Lord, an Iron Dragon Slayer. Fancy way of saying someone's about to get their jaw realigned," Natsu growled, flames licking his fists. Naruto stood in the wreckage of the guild hall and said nothing. His expression was calm. His body was relaxed. Kurama stirred. "Kit, I know. You're angry. I'm fine. Your chakra says otherwise. It's leaking. You haven't leaked since the war." Naruto looked at the iron rods driven through the guild's walls. He looked at the Fairy Tail banner, torn but still hanging. He thought about all the mornings he'd eaten ramen at that bar. The fights, the laughter, Kaina's barrel, Mirajane's smile, Natsu's challenges, Gray's ice-cold attitude, Urza's strawberry cake. This was his home. Someone had attacked his home. He breathed, controlled it, let it simmer instead of explode. "Okay," he said quietly. "Where are they?" And then the news about Team Shadow Gear arrived. Levi McGarden, Jet, and Droy were found pinned to a tree in Magnolia's Central Park. Beaten, brutalized. The Phantom Lord symbol was painted on Levi's stomach. Naruto stood before the tree and looked at their broken bodies. Levi's hands, the hands of a girl who loved books and language and treated words like treasures, were swollen and bent at wrong angles. Something shifted in his chakra. Kurama went quiet, which was worse than Kurama being loud. The golden energy that leaked from Naruto's skin felt different now. It wasn't warm, it was hot, aggressive. The air around him rippled with heat distortion. Every Fairy Tail mage nearby felt it. They stepped back instinctively. An animal part of their brain screamed at them to get away from this boy, this suddenly terrifying boy whose blue eyes had gone flat and cold. Nobody, Naruto said softly, hurts my people. It was whispered, and it was the most frightening thing anyone in that park had ever heard. Makarov arrived. The old man took one look at his wounded children and his face hardened into granite. We march on Phantom Lord. No, Naruto said. Every head turned. What? Makarov asked. You don't need to march anywhere, old man. Naruto turned. His eyes caught the sunlight, and for just a moment, just a fraction of a second, his pupils were slit. I'll go. Alone. Alone. Urza stepped forward. Naruto? Urza. He looked at her, and his expression softened by exactly 1 degree. Stay with the guild. Protect them. That's what you're best at. And what are you best at? He smiled. It was sharp, cold, the opposite of every smile she'd seen from him before. Finishing things. He vanished. One moment he was there. The next, a blur of gold and a displaced rush of air, and he was gone. But Phantom Lord came to them first. Jose had mobilized everything. The Phantom Lord Guild Hall itself, a massive mechanical walking fortress, strode across the landscape toward Magnolia on towering legs. The Jupiter cannon protruded from its mouth like a weapon from a nightmare. Behind the walls, hundreds of Phantom Lord mages prepared for war. The Element Four, Jose's elite mages of water, fire, earth, and air, took their positions, and Jose Porla himself sat on his throne inside. Darkness magic coiling around him like living shadows. Naruto was halfway to Oaktown when he felt it. The massive magical signature moving toward Magnolia instead of away. He skidded to a stop on the road, turned, and his eyes widened. They're going to the guild. Go. He went. Fairy Tail was ready. Kind of. The mages assembled outside their makeshift headquarters, a basement beneath the ruined guild hall, and watched the Phantom Lord fortress approach across the lake. It was enormous, a mobile castle bristling with weapons and dark magic. Jupiter cannon is charging, someone shouted. Urza saw it, the massive barrel extending from the fortress mouth glowing with gathered magic energy. One shot from that cannon could obliterate everything. The guild, the mages, the town behind them. She requipped instantly. Adamantine armor, the ultimate defensive set, a tower shield forged from magical steel, designed to block a single catastrophic attack at the cost of the armor itself. She stood between the cannon and her family. Feet planted, shield raised. Everyone get behind me. Natsu screamed her name. Gray reached for her. Lucy's hands flew to her mouth. Urza gritted her teeth and braced for impact. The cannon fired. A beam of concentrated magic energy, thick as a house, blinding white, screaming toward them with enough force to level a city block. She was going to take it. She was going to hold. Even if the armor broke. Even if she broke. She would hold because that's what she did. That's what the armor was for. That's what she was for. The beam was 10 seconds away. 5, 3. A golden shape landed in front of her. Naruto stood between Urza and the Jupiter cannon's beam, his back to her, arms spread wide. The Nine Tails chakra mode blazed around him. But he pushed further, harder. The Kurama avatar materialized. It rose around him like a golden sunrise taking shape. A colossal fox made of pure chakra, translucent and blazing, its 9 tails fanning out behind it like the rays of a sun. Its head alone was the size of a building. Its jaws were open. The Jupiter cannon's beam hit the avatar's mouth. The golden fox swallowed it. The beam, this supposedly city-destroying weapon, this ultimate military application of concentrated magic, disappeared into the Kurama avatar's maw like a flashlight being swallowed by the ocean. The avatar's jaws snapped shut. Silence. Absolute, ringing silence. Then Kurama's voice rumbled outward, not just in Naruto's mind, but through the avatar itself. Amplified, massive, a voice that shook the air and the water and the bones of every mage within earshot. Is that all? The fairy tale mages stood in the shadow of a golden god fox and couldn't move. Natsu's fire went out. Just went out. He stared upward with eyes so wide they might never close again. Gray's ice cracked and fell from his hands. Lucy sank to her knees. Makarov, who had seen the strongest mages of 2 generations fight, who had witnessed Gildarts Clive shatter mountains, looked up at the golden fox with an expression of complete, humble awe. "My boy," he breathed, "what have you been hiding?" Urza lowered her shield. She was looking up at the avatar, at the fox's blazing form, at the figure inside it wreathed in gold, and her dark eyes were reflecting the light like mirrors. She wasn't afraid. She was looking at the most powerful thing she'd ever seen, and she was not afraid. Naruto turned his head, looked at her over his shoulder. The golden light caught his whisker marks in his eyes and his grin. "I told you," he said. "I finished things." He turned back to the Phantom Lord Fortress. "Kurama, let's break their toy." "With pleasure." The avatar lunged. 100-foot-tall chakra construct. Claws, tails, a fox head full of teeth that could bite through mountains, threw itself at the walking fortress. One massive claw raked across the front armor. Metal screamed and tore like aluminum foil. The Jupiter cannon snapped off at its base and plunged into the lake. Inside the fortress, panic. Mages scrambled. The Element Four rushed to their posts. Naruto dropped the full avatar, too much chakra for what came next, and went in alone. He punched through the fortress wall and entered. The Element Four tried. Sol of the Earth met him first, a creepy French-speaking mage who bent the ground like clay. He raised a wall of stone between himself and Naruto. Naruto punched through it. Literally punched through solid rock with a chakra-enhanced fist and kept walking. Sol's eyes went wide. He summoned golems, rock giants, 3 of them, each the size of a house. Shadow Clone Jutsu! 3 Narutos appeared. Each one met a golem head-on. 3 simultaneous Rasengans. 3 simultaneous detonations. The golems disintegrated. Sol had about half a second to say "Mon Dieu" before the real Naruto appeared behind him and chopped him across the back of the neck. Down. Totemaru, the fire mage who controlled all flames, tried next. He redirected Natsu's fire. Natsu had broken in from a different entrance because of course he had, and turned it against the Dragon Slayer. Naruto didn't use fire. He formed a Rasengan, walked up to Totemaru while the fire mage desperately tried to control the spinning chakra sphere. It wasn't fire, it wasn't magic, he couldn't grab it, he couldn't do anything with it, and planted it in his chest. Rasengan. Totemaru hit 3 walls on his way out of the fortress. 3 distinct walls. Each one crumbled. He didn't get up. Juvia of the water stood in Naruto's path, and her eyes were wide. She could feel the difference between herself and this person, the way an ant could feel the difference between itself and a mountain. "Juvia does not wish to fight," she said. Naruto stopped, read her body language, her eyes, the way she held herself, scared, lonely, following orders because she had nowhere else to go. He recognized that too. "Then don't," he said. "Come to Fairy Tail instead. We've got better food." "What?" "You heard me. Doors always open." He walked past her. "Also, there's a guy named Gray there. Ice Mage, strips a lot, you'd like him." He kept walking. Behind him, Juvia stood frozen in a corridor of the fortress that was actively falling apart, and something cracked inside her that had nothing to do with magic. Arya of the Sky, the strongest of the Element Four, a massive blindfolded man who could drain magic and create void spaces, was the last barrier before Jose. He was sobbing. He always sobbed. It was his thing. How sad that I must destroy one so young. He unleashed his airspace magic, a sphere of emptiness that drained everything. Magic, life force, air itself. It expanded toward Naruto like a hungry void. Naruto looked at it, then at Arya. Sage art, massive Rasengan. The technique was exactly what it sounded like. A Rasengan 4 times normal size, roaring with sage chakra, big enough to fill the corridor. He slammed it into the void sphere. The void broke first. The Rasengan plowed through Arya's magic like a train through fog and connected with the man's enormous body. The detonation blew out the side of the fortress. Arya sailed into the sky, trailing smoke, and splashed down in Lake Ciliora a quarter-mile away. The path to Jose Porla was clear. Jose sat on his throne in the heart of the fortress and waited. He was one of the 10 wizard saints, the 10 most powerful mages on the continent. His darkness magic was formidable, draining, oppressive. He'd crushed guild masters. He'd destroyed reputations. He'd built Phantom Lord into a rival to Fairy Tail through cunning and cruelty. The doors to his chamber blew off their hinges. Naruto walked in, golden light still flickering, eyes sharp, expression flat. Jose looked at him and felt something, a pressure, like the weight of an ocean pressing down from above, like standing at the base of a tidal wave and watching it curl overhead. But he was a wizard saint. He did not flinch. "So you're the boy who's been causing all this fuss," Jose said smoothly. He stood, darkness coiling around his hands like black snakes. "I'll admit your power is impressive, but you've made a mistake coming here alone." "Mistake?" Naruto tilted his head. "I walked through your Element 4 in about 6 minutes. Your cannon's at the bottom of a lake. Your fortress is falling apart, and you think I'm the one who made a mistake? Jose's smile flickered. You brought a cannon to a war against a tailed beast, Naruto said. That was your mistake. The darkness exploded outward. Jose's shade attack. Ghosts of dark magic, hundreds of them, each one capable of draining a mage's life force on contact, flooded the room. They poured from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. A tidal wave of malevolent energy that would have overwhelmed any normal mage through sheer volume. Naruto's golden cloak intensified. The Yang chakra, pure life energy, the same force that had countered the Jubi's darkness, the same light that had pushed back against Obito's despair and Madara's nihilism, poured off him in waves. The shade ghosts touched the golden light and dissolved, evaporated, like shadows meeting sunlight. Jose watched his strongest technique disappear, and for the first time in decades, actual fear crossed his face. What are you? He whispered. Naruto blurred. He crossed the distance between them in a single step. Jose barely got his arms up before a golden fist connected with his guard. The impact launched the wizard saint through his own throne, through the back wall, and into the next room. Jose tumbled, recovered, and fired concentrated beams of darkness from both palms. The beams were powerful enough to punch through steel. Naruto walked through them. The golden cloak ate the darkness like it was nothing. Dead wave! Jose screamed, and the full force of his magic erupted, a pillar of black energy that consumed the entire corridor. Naruto raised one hand. Tailed beast shockwave! A pulse of golden chakra exploded from his palm. Not a tailed beast bomb. That would have destroyed the fortress and everyone in it. Just a concentrated burst. A push. But a push from Kurama was a hurricane from anything else. Jose's dead wave shattered. The dark energy dispersed like smoke in a gale. The shockwave hit Jose Porla's center mass and launched him through 5 rooms, each wall breaking around his body like paper, until he exited the fortress entirely and carved a trench through the ground outside. Naruto walked after him. Each footstep cracked the floor. Jose lay in his trench, bleeding from the mouth, robes shredded, one of the 10 wizard saints reduced to a broken figure in the dirt. He looked up at the golden figure standing over him and saw something in those blue eyes that made him understand, really, truly understand, that the gap between them was so vast, it might as well be infinite. You attacked my guild, Naruto said. You hurt my friends. You came to our home and tried to destroy it. He crouched down so Jose could see his face clearly. If you ever come near Fairy Tail again, I won't hold back. Jose's eyes went wide. That was you holding back. Naruto stood up and walked away. Behind him, Jose Porla, Wizard Saint, Master of Phantom Lord, one of the most feared mages in Fiore, passed out. Phantom Lord ended that day. The guild was dissolved by the Magic Council within a week. Its members scattered. Its fortress sank into Lake Ciliora, and every mage in Fiore learned a new name. The aftermath was quiet. Rebuilding happened. The guild hall went back up, piece by piece, with every member pitching in. Naruto carried lumber with shadow clones, 20 of him working simultaneously, which freaked out the construction crew, but got the job done 5 times faster. The atmosphere was different now. The guild had always been loud and confident. Now there was something else underneath it. A sense of security that hadn't been there before, because everyone knew. If the worst happened, if something truly dangerous came for them, there was a boy in an orange jumpsuit who would stand between them and annihilation and grin while doing it. Naruto hated that he liked it. He'd spent his whole life wanting exactly this, to be seen, to be valued, to be the person people relied on. He just never expected to find it in a different universe. You know you can't go back, right? Kurama said one night, when Naruto was sitting on the guild roof watching Earthland's twin moons. I know. Kaguya's dimensions collapsed when we were pulled through. The rift is gone. There's nothing to go back to. I know, Kurama. A pause. Are you okay with that? Naruto thought about Konoha, about Sakura and Sasuke and Kakashi Sensei, about Iruka, about the ramen stand and the Hokage monument in the swing. They'll be okay, he said. Sasuke's strong enough to finish the fight, and they've got each other. That's not what I asked. No, I'm not okay with it. He looked at his hands. But I'm getting there. She helps. Naruto didn't ask who. They both knew Urza Scarlet found him on the roof. She'd come looking for him. She always knew where he was these days, as if some invisible thread connected them through the building. She sat next to him. Her armor was gone. She wore a simple white blouse and a blue skirt. Her hair was loose. She looked younger without the steel. More real. "You're thinking about your world," she said. "Yeah. Do you miss it?" "Every day." She nodded. She understood missing things. She understood loss that settled into your bones and became part of how you stood, how you breathed, how you looked at sunsets. "When I was young," she said, "I was a slave." He went still. "A tower. The Tower of Heaven. They called it that, heaven. And it was anything but. We were children. We built the tower with our hands, our bodies, our blood." Her voice was measured. Each word had been carried a long time. "There was a boy there, Jalal. He was kind. He was my friend. And then he wasn't." She told him everything. The uprising, the betrayal, the escape. Jalal's possession by dark magic. The armor she built around herself, literal and otherwise, because the world had taught her that anyone you opened your heart to would eventually drive a knife through it. She told him about Rosemary Village, about her eye, about the first time she requipped alone, terrified, building walls of steel between herself and a world that wanted to hurt her. Naruto listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't say, "I'm sorry," because sorry was just a word, and words without weight were just noise. When she finished, the silence was thick. The twin moons hung above them like watching eyes. "Urza," he said. "Yes? You don't have to wear the armor around me." She looked at him. Her eyes, her one real eye and the one she'd lost and had replaced, both reflected the moonlight. "I know," she said, and her voice cracked, just slightly, a hairline fracture in the steel. He reached over and took her hand. She held on tight. They sat there until the moon set, and when Urza finally went to bed, she left her armor in her room for the first time in years. The Tower of Heaven came for them a month later. It came in the night, during a vacation that was supposed to be relaxing. Fairy Tail's strongest team, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Urza, Happy, and Naruto, went to the Akane Resort, a beach town on the coast. It was supposed to be sun and sand and Urza trying on bathing suits for 2 hours. She brought 40. The resort was beautiful. Naruto had never seen a beach that wasn't a battlefield. He stood in the sand and let the waves touch his feet and smiled like a kid. Then the casino. Cards. Drinks. Urza destroyed the poker table because she didn't understand bluffing. Natsu set a roulette wheel on fire. Gray froze someone's drink by accident. Lucy won 500,000 jewel and screamed so loud the chandelier shook. Normal. Happy. The kind of evening that made you forget the world had teeth. And then the teeth came. They came during dinner. Masked figures, 5 of them. Moving through the casino, they neutralized the exits. They isolated the targets. And when Urza looked up from her strawberry cake and saw them, the blood drained from her face in a way Naruto had never seen before. "Urza," he said. "Show. Miliana, Wally, Simon." She knew them. They were her people, her childhood, her Tower of Heaven. And the 5th figure, tall, blue-haired, with a red tattoo across his face and eyes that burned with something between madness and divine purpose, stepped forward and smiled. "It's been a long time, Urza," said Jalal Fernandez. The temperature in the room dropped. Urza's hand trembled. Her fork clattered to the table. Every wall she'd built, every piece of armor she'd constructed, Naruto watched it all waver. This was the one person in the world who could get past her defenses. The boy who built the cage and the boy she'd loved at the same time. And he was here. "You're coming home, Urza," Jalal said, and his voice was a velvet noose. "The tower is almost complete, and you are the final piece." It happened fast. Magic seals activated. Gas filled the room. Sho, a card mage, sealed Urza inside a playing card before Naruto could move. Miliana's binding tubes caught Natsu and wrapped him in anti-magic restraints. Wally's block magic scattered Gray. They took Urza and vanished through a teleportation circle. Naruto stood in the ruined casino, paralysis gas swirling around him, and felt something inside himself go very quiet. Then, very loud, the paralysis gas burned away. Golden chakra incinerated it. The floor under his feet cracked. The casino's windows blew outward. Natsu pulled off the binding tubes through sheer rage and fire. Gray reformed from the scattered blocks. Lucy pulled out her keys. "They took her," Lucy said, her voice shaking. "I know," Naruto said. His voice was calm. His eyes were anything but. We're gonna get her back. And when I find the man who took her, I'm going to break every wall he's built and every lie he's told her. And then I'm gonna break him. How do we even get there? Gray asked. The Tower of Heaven is in the middle of the ocean. Naruto looked at the ocean through the shattered windows. He could feel her. Across miles of water, through the faint thread of connection they'd built over months of shared silence and held hands in words that meant everything. He could feel her. I'll find her. He activated Sage Mode. The orange pigment appeared. His senses expanded, miles outward, feeling every living thing, every fish in the ocean, every bird in the sky, until he found it. A massive structure of crystallized magic energy, pulsing with dark power far to the east. And inside it, a light he recognized. Red hair, steel heart, the strongest woman he'd ever known, trapped in the one place that made her weak. Got her. Naruto, wait, Lucy started. He was already running. He hit the beach at full sprint and didn't stop at the waterline. Chakra flowed to his feet, an old trick, academy level, but it worked across dimensions. His sandals touched the ocean surface and held. He ran across the water. He ran across the ocean surface at speeds that left a wake like a speedboat, golden chakra trailing behind him in a luminous streak. Behind him on the beach, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, and Happy watched. Lucy trailed off. Running on water, Gray finished. He's running on water. I want to do that! Natsu screamed. How do I do that? You can't. Why not? A boat arrived. Simon, the fifth member of the Tower of Heaven group, who had secretly been working against Jalal the whole time. He offered them passage. They followed. But Naruto was miles ahead, a golden streak across the dark ocean, running toward the woman who needed him. The Tower of Heaven rose from the ocean like a pillar of nightmare. It was massive, a crystalline structure hundreds of meters tall, made of compressed ether nano, designed to channel enough magic energy to breach the gap between life and death. The R system, a machine meant to resurrect the dead, to bring back Zeref himself, powered by a sacrifice. The sacrifice was Urza. Jello planned to fuse her with the Etherion, a satellite-based magic weapon controlled by the Magic Council, and use the resulting energy explosion to complete the resurrection. He had spent years manipulating, years planning, years breaking the people who loved him, turning friends into tools, turning hope into chains. He sat at the top of the tower, surrounded by lacrima crystals pulsing with stolen energy, and waited. He did not expect a fist through the outer wall. Naruto hit the Tower of Heaven like a guided missile. He didn't look for a door. He didn't look for a window. He punched through the exterior wall at the waterline and entered the structure in a shower of crystal fragments. The tower's internal defenses activated. Guards, traps, magical constructs designed to slow intruders and drain their power. Naruto walked through them. A construct lunged at him, a golem of crystallized ether nano, 10 feet tall, humming with energy. He backhanded it. It shattered. He kept walking. 3 guards rushed him from a side corridor. He didn't break stride. 3 precise strikes, throat, solar plexus, temple, and they were down. He kept walking. A hallway filled with binding magic, runes etched into the walls designed to paralyze anyone who entered. His chakra pulsed once, and the runes cracked. He kept walking. He went up, floor by floor, a straight line upward through the tower, leaving broken walls and unconscious bodies in his wake. He was tracking Urza's energy signature through the building like a compass needle pointing north. On the 4th floor, he found Sho. The card mage still had Urza sealed in his card, and his eyes were filled with the particular kind of desperation that came from someone who'd been lied to for too long and was starting to realize it. Let her go, Naruto said. I can't, Jalal said. I don't care what Jalal said. Let her go. Sho looked at this stranger, golden light leaking from his skin, eyes marked with sage pigmentation, radiating a pressure that made the crystals in the walls vibrate. And his hand shook, he released the card. Urza reformed in a flash of light, stumbling, disoriented. Her eyes were wild. She was in this place again. This tower, these walls, these crystals. And for a moment she was 11 years old and chained, and there was no way out. Then she saw Naruto, his face, his stupid whisker marks, his bright blue eyes, his grin that said everything was going to be fine even when it absolutely should not be fine. Hey, Urza, he held out his hand. Let's get out of here. Something broke open inside her, The walls she'd maintained for years, the steel, the armor, the careful distance she kept between herself and the world, cracked from the inside out. She didn't take his hand. She grabbed his jacket, pulled him forward, and pressed her forehead against his chest. "You came," she said. "Of course I came. How did you find me?" "I followed the feeling of the strongest person I know being in a place that doesn't deserve her." She let out a breath that sounded like it had been held for 10 years. Then she straightened. The steel came back, but it was different now. Not a cage, a framework. Armor by choice, not by fear. "Jalal is at the top," she said. "He's going to activate the R system. Then we go up." They went up together. The tower fought them every step. More constructs, more guards, traps and magical barriers and crystallized nightmares. Urza fought like her name, a scarlet storm, re-equipping through armor so fast the transitions blurred. Black wing armor for speed, Flame Empress for fire resistance, Purgatory armor for raw power. Naruto fought beside her and they moved like they'd been training together for years. No wasted motion, no crossed paths. When she cut left, he went right. When she drew attention, he flanked. When she blocked, he struck. It was beautiful. In the middle of a nightmare tower built on slavery and dark magic, their partnership was the most beautiful thing either of them had experienced. Natsu, Gray, and Lucy had entered the tower from below. Simon had guided them in, and they were handling the lower floors. Natsu fought Jalal's assassin games with the ferocity of a dragon slayer protecting his family. Gray found himself face to face with a past that mirrored his own and fought through it. Lucy held lines with her spirits, but the top floor belonged to Naruto and Urza. Jalal Fernandez stood in the center of the tower's summit. The chamber was a cathedral of crystal, the walls pulsing with channeled Etherion energy. The air itself glowed purple. The raw magic was so dense it was visible, swirling in currents that made the room feel alive. Jalal smiled when they entered. He looked at Urza with eyes that held affection and cruelty in equal measure. Then he looked at Naruto and his smile widened. "So this is the one, the outsider with the strange energy." Jalal stepped forward, casual, confident. "I've heard about you. The council is very concerned, a being of unknown power in a world that doesn't understand him." "Sound familiar?" Naruto said. Jalal's smile tightened. "You don't know anything about me. I know enough." Naruto looked at Urza, then back at Jalal. "I know you took people who trusted you and turned them into weapons. I know you built a tower out of suffering and called it heaven. And I know you're about to sacrifice the life of the best person I've ever met to bring back a dead man who should stay dead." Jalal's eyes flashed. "Zeref's resurrection will change everything. A new world order, true magical supremacy. You can't understand. I fought people who wanted to rewrite reality. They all sounded like you." Naruto cracked his knuckles. "They all lost." The fight started without warning. Jalal moved first. Meteor, his signature speed spell, activated, and he became a blur of light streaking toward Naruto. The speed was legitimate, faster than any mage Naruto had fought in this world. A golden streak bouncing off walls and ceiling and floor, coming from every angle. Naruto's Sage Mode tracked him. Orange pigmented eyes followed the streaking form with perfect clarity. Jalal came in from above. A fist wrapped in heavenly body magic slammed down. Naruto caught it. The impact cracked the crystal floor in a spiderweb pattern 20 feet wide. Wind blasted outward, but Naruto's hand was wrapped around Jalal's fist, and his feet hadn't moved. Jalal stared. "Fast," Naruto said, "but I fought faster." He twisted Jalal's arm and threw him. The blue-haired mage hit the far wall hard enough to embed himself 3 inches into the crystal. Jalal pulled free, blood on his lip. His expression had shifted, the smug confidence replaced by something sharper, harder, more dangerous. Grand Chariot! 7 magic circles appeared in the sky above the shattered ceiling. 7 pillars of light, each one carrying the destructive force of a falling star, rained down. The light was blinding. The sound was apocalyptic. 7 simultaneous impacts that shook the entire tower, cracked the walls from summit to base, and turned the chamber floor into a moonscape of craters. When the dust cleared, Naruto stood in the center of the destruction, golden cloak blazing, completely untouched. He looked up at the fading stars, then back at Jalal. "I've fought women who built their own dimensions," he said. "Your stars are cheap sparklers." The color drained from Jelal's face. Naruto moved. No dramatic power-up. No screaming. He was just there, in front of Jelal, close enough to see the tattoo on his face. He hit Jelal in the stomach with a chakra-enhanced palm strike that folded the mage in half. The crystal wall behind Jelal exploded outward. Jelal sailed through the opening and crashed into the next chamber. Naruto followed, walking. Sage Art, Rasengan Barrage. Shadow clones appeared, 4 of them, each carrying a Rasengan. They hit Jelal simultaneously from 4 directions. The combined detonation vaporized the chamber walls and sent Jelal through the floor, 1 floor down, 2 floors down. The tower shuddered. Jelal stood in the rubble. His robes were shredded. His heavenly body magic flickered. But his eyes burned with the fever of a man who had built his entire identity around one purpose and could not conceive of failing. Alteris, he raised both hands. Above him, darkness gathered, a sphere of destructive magic that compressed every bit of his power into a single point. Alteris, the black orb, a technique capable of wiping out an entire city block. The sphere descended. Naruto looked at it. Massive, dense, powerful by this world's standards, by his standards. Kurama, go big. Biju Sage mode, full power. The golden cloak intensified to the point where it was blinding. The cross-shaped pupils of fused Sage and Biju power locked onto the descending sphere of death. Naruto raised one hand. Chakra gathered, dense, impossibly dense, compressed into a sphere of his own, dark and golden in equal measure, spinning with the force of something that was meant to fight gods. Tailed beast ball. He threw it upward. The 2 attacks met at the tower's apex. For one frozen moment, the sky went dark. The ocean went flat. Every living thing within 10 miles held its breath. Then the detonation. The top half of the Tower of Heaven evaporated. Crystal, stone, lacrima, enchantment, all of it gone. Converted to energy and heat in a shockwave that radiated outward in a dome of golden light visible from the mainland. The ocean churned. Waves 100 feet tall raced outward. The Magic Council's Etherean satellite, already targeting the tower, fired at the same moment. The combined energy hit the damaged tower and the crystals began to destabilize. Etherean energy flooded the structure. The very walls began to liquefy. Jalal lay broken in what remained of the summit, his magic spent, his body battered, his dream of Zeref's resurrection dissolving along with the tower. He looked up at Naruto through one functioning eye and saw, impossibly, incredibly, the golden figure was already turning away. Because Naruto wasn't looking at Jalal anymore, he was looking at Urza. The Ethereon destabilization was going to blow. The entire tower was going to go up. A magical explosion big enough to flatten everything within miles. Urza knew this. She could feel the energy building, feel the crystals humming, feel the inevitable approaching like a wall of noise. She made her decision. She'd been ready for this since she was 11. The tower had always been meant to take her, one way or another. She walked toward the central lacrima, the heart of the R system, and placed her hands on it. If she fused with the Etherean, she could stabilize the explosion, absorb it into her own body, direct the energy outward and upward, away from the ocean, away from her friends. It would kill her. She knew that, but her friends would live. It was the armor's purpose. Take the hit, protect the people behind you, break so they don't have to. Urza, Lucy screamed from below. What is she? Gray started. Natsu charged forward, but the energy barrier pushed him back. Urza closed her eyes. The crystal began to absorb her. Her feet sank in, her legs, her arms. Thank you, she whispered. All of you, for making me feel. Urza! Naruto's voice cut through the noise like a blade. He was there, inside the crystal. He'd punched through the barrier that had stopped Natsu, and he was wading into the liquefied Etherean, and his golden cloak was eating the crystal's energy, and his hands were reaching for her. What are you doing? She shouted. If you stay in here, then I stay in here! You think I came all the way across an ocean to watch you die? You'll be absorbed. The energy will. Urza. He grabbed her shoulders. His golden light was pushing back the crystal, creating a bubble of warmth around them both. You don't have to wear armor to protect your heart anymore. I'm here! She stared at him. Inside a collapsing tower of cursed crystal and destabilizing magic, inside the place that had been her nightmare for a decade, She looked at this impossible boy who had run across the ocean and punched through walls and fought a false god to find her, and she felt something happen that no amount of armor had ever been able to prevent. She felt safe. Naruto pulled her close. His golden cloak expanded, wrapping around them both, a cocoon of Nine-Tails chakra, warm and fierce and protective. Inside it, the crystal couldn't touch them. The Ethereum couldn't reach them. "Kurama," Naruto said through gritted teeth, "I need everything you've got." "Already on it, kid. Hold on to her." He held on. The tower exploded. The Ethereum detonation was visible from space. A pillar of pure magical energy shot into the sky and dispersed across the upper atmosphere in a shower of light that people across the continent would later describe as the most beautiful and terrifying thing they'd ever seen. The Tower of Heaven, that monument to suffering and slavery and false promises, was erased from existence, and in the water below, sinking slowly through the warm ocean, a golden sphere held two people safe. Urza woke up on a beach. The sun was rising. The sky was painted in shades of pink and gold and orange. The ocean was calm. The sand was warm. She was lying in Naruto's arms. His golden cloak had faded. His eyes were closed. His breathing was deep and steady. His clothes were torn. His skin was scratched and bruised. And he looked like someone who had gone through hell. He also looked like someone who had done it gladly. She shifted in his arms and his eyes opened. Blue. Bright. "Morning," he said. His voice was hoarse. "You saved me." "You keep saying that like it's surprising. You dove into a crystallized Ethereum explosion. Would do it again." She stared at him. The sunrise was behind his head, making his blonde hair glow like a halo, and the whisker marks on his cheeks were so absurd and so perfectly him. And she was done pretending. She was so done pretending. She leaned forward and kissed him. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a movie moment explosion of music and light. It was soft, simple. The press of her lips against his, warm and tentative, and then less tentative. His hand came up to cup the back of her head, fingers threading through scarlet hair. They kissed on a beach at sunrise while the ocean whispered and the last traces of the Tower of Heaven's light faded from the sky. And it felt like every broken thing in both of them had finally found a match to be pulled apart. Naruto was grinning. That stupid, beautiful, impossible grin. "Took you long enough," he said. She punched his shoulder, hard enough to make him wince. "Shut up. Make me." She kissed him again. He shut up. Behind a rock formation about 30 feet away, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, and Happy were hiding. Lucy was crying, actual tears streaming down her face. "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever—" "Shh!" Gray hissed. "They'll hear us." "Naruto and Urza sitting in a tree," Happy sang quietly. "KISS!" Natsu slapped a hand over the cat's mouth. "Happy, if Urza catches us watching, she will end us." "She looks happy," Lucy whispered, wiping her eyes. They all looked. Urza Scarlet, Titania, Queen of the Fairies, the woman who wore armor like other people wore skin, was sitting on a beach, leaning against a boy wrapped in the fading light of a golden fox, and she was smiling, a real smile, the kind that had been locked away in a tower for years and had finally found the key. "Yeah," Gray said softly, "she does." They returned to Magnolia as legends. The stories spread faster than wildfire. The Tower of Heaven, destroyed. The Ethereum satellite, expended on nothing. Jalal Fernandez, captured and imprisoned. And the golden figure who had done the impossible, again. The Magic Council was torn between wanting to arrest Naruto and wanting to recruit him. They settled for increased surveillance, which Naruto was aware of and completely unconcerned about. "They're watching me," he told Makarov. "Of course they are. You terrify them." "Should I be worried?" Makarov looked at this boy, this young man who carried the power of a god in the heart of a child and had saved his guild, his people, and the woman he loved through sheer refusal to accept defeat, and smiled. "Let them watch," Makarov said. "Let the whole world watch. That's what it means to be fairy tale." Naruto grinned. "I like the way you think, old man." The guild was rebuilt, bigger this time, stronger, with a new addition to the second floor, an S-class board that now had Naruto's name on it, approved unanimously by the master without a trial. He destroyed a Zeref demon, dismantled Phantom Lord, and erased the Tower of Heaven. Makarov told the other S-class mages, "If anyone objects to this promotion, please take it up with him directly." Nobody objected. Natsu challenged Naruto to a fight every single day. The answer was always the same: after I finish eating. Natsu had still not caught on. Gray developed a grudging respect that he expressed through insults, which was basically how Gray expressed everything. You're an idiot who got lucky. Gray, your shirt. Damn it! Lucy wrote about Naruto in her novel. She wrote about all of them, but the chapters about Naruto were the ones that came easiest because his story was the kind that practically wrote itself. Juvia joined Fairy Tail. She walked through the doors 2 weeks after Phantom Lord's dissolution, soaking wet because it was always raining around her. And she looked at Gray, and something in the permanent storm clouds above her head broke apart to let a single ray of sunlight through. The blonde one said there was good food here, she said quietly, and that Juvia would like someone named Gray. Gray turned bright red. He said what? Naruto at the bar raised his ramen bowl in a toast. Urza found Naruto on the guild roof that evening. It had become their spot, their place above the noise. She sat next to him, closer than before, their shoulders touching, her head tilted slightly toward his. The council is calling what you did at the tower an Etherean class event, she said. They're classifying you. What's my classification? A natural disaster of unknown origin. Naruto blinked, looked at her, looked at the twin moons above them, looked back at her. That's my classification? That is your official classification with the Magic Council. They debated for 3 days. He considered this for about 2 seconds. Then he grinned. Accurate. Urza shook her head, but the corner of her mouth was pulling upward the way it always did when she was trying to be serious around him and failing. He'd noticed that about her. The harder she tried to hold the Titania mask, the more it slipped whenever he said something stupid. He was starting to think she liked the stupid things. She'd never admit it. He'd never stop saying them. They considered unclassifiable magical anomaly, she continued. But the chairman argued that you are in fact classifiable. You're just classified as a disaster. I've been called worse. The Hokage? Iruka-sensei. When I painted the monument, different story. She leaned into him, her shoulder against his. Her armor was in her room again. She'd been leaving it off more and more since the tower. Not always, because she was still Urza and the armor was part of her. But up here, on the roof, in the space that belonged to the two of them, the steel stayed downstairs. Does it bother you? She asked. The classification. Urza, back home I was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, the demon kid, the village monster. Being classified as a natural disaster is honestly a promotion. She looked at him. Her dark eyes caught the moonlight and held it. He thought, again for the 100th time, that she was the most beautiful thing in either world he'd lived in. You are many things, Naruto Uzumaki, she said. A disaster is the least of them. Was that a compliment? It was an observation. It sounded like a compliment. Then your hearing needs work. He kissed her temple. She didn't move away. The guild was loud beneath them. It was always loud beneath them. And the twin moons hung above like a matched pair of eyes watching something it approved of. Kit, Kurama rumbled. Yeah? Your chakra network hit full integration about an hour ago. Thought you should know. Naruto went still. Then his eyes widened. Full? 100%. The ether nano finally stopped pushing back. Your system adapted completely. Everything's open. Everything's flowing. Naruto looked at his hands. He flexed them, reached inside himself and felt everything. The coils, the gates, the pathways. Kurama's massive presence behind the seal, no longer compressed or filtered but fully accessible. A bonfire that had been breathing through a keyhole for months and was now an open door. He pulled chakra to his palm. A Rasengan formed in less than a second. Perfect, dense, screaming with power. He let it fade. I'm at full strength. You're at full strength. Urza felt the shift. She couldn't see chakra, but she could feel it. The way the air thickened, the way the roof tiles vibrated under her, the way the pressure changed like the barometric drop before a hurricane. Something happened, she said. My power's back. All of it. She looked at him. All of it? Everything I had when I fought a goddess. The silence between them was heavy. Urza was one of the few people in Fairy Tail who understood what that meant. He told her about Kaguya, about the war, about standing against something that created dimensions the way she requipped swords. The council classified you at 20%, she said slowly. Yeah, and now you're at 100. Yeah. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm going to enjoy watching them update their files. He laughed, loud and bright, and the kind of laugh that made the guild members below look up at the roof and smile, because they knew that laugh meant their newest member was happy. And when Naruto was happy, the whole building felt warmer. The days that followed were the best of his life. Being at full strength changed everything and nothing. He was still Naruto, still ate too much ramen, still sat on the bar, still let Natsu challenge him to fights and dodged everyone with the same "after I finish eating" excuse. But the guild could feel the difference. His presence had always been large, warm, bright, impossible to ignore. Now it was oceanic. The building itself seemed to hum when he walked through the door. Mira Jane said the beer tasted better. Kana said her hangovers were shorter. Makarov said nothing, but the old man watched Naruto the way a person watches a sunrise that keeps getting brighter and brighter and shows no sign of stopping. Naruto and Urza sparred again on a Thursday morning. The field behind the guild was the same one where she'd thrown 200 swords at him. The same audience gathered. Because Fairy Tail mages had a finely tuned radar for entertainment, and two of their strongest going at it was better than any show. This time, Urza came different. She wore her Hartkreuz armor, her basic set, no special abilities, no flight, no elemental advantages. A single sword in her hand. Naruto noticed immediately. "No Heaven's Wheel," he said. "You told me my armor slows me down." She settled into a stance, low, balanced, the sword held forward like a natural extension of her arm. "So I dropped the weight." Something warm moved through his chest. She was listening. She always listened, even when she looked like she was ready to cut you in half for suggesting she change anything about the way she fought. "All right," he said. He didn't activate Sage Mode. He didn't light up the chakra cloak. He stood there in his black and orange, hands open, and grinned. "Show me." She moved, fast, faster than anyone in Fairy Tail had ever seen her move without flight armor. The lighter load changed her completely. Where Titania was a fortress in motion, this Urza was a blade. She crossed the distance in a heartbeat, and her sword came in from the left in a cut that would have bisected a lesser fighter. Naruto leaned. The blade passed his chest by an inch. She followed with a backhand strike, and he swayed under it. A thrust, he sidestepped. A spinning slash, he jumped over it. But she was learning. Every exchange she adjusted. Her footwork tightened. Her timing sharpened. She started reading his body language the way he'd been reading hers since the day they met. She feinted left. He leaned right. She reversed and caught him off guard. The flat of her blade tapped his ribs. The crowd gasped. She'd touched him. Urza's eyes widened. She'd actually hit him. In their first spar, she hadn't come close. 200 swords and nothing. Now, one sword and honesty, and she'd gotten through. Naruto looked down at the spot where the blade had touched. Then he looked at her. His grin was enormous. "There she is." Urza blinked. Then her face softened into something the guild had never seen from the Titania before. She smiled at him. "Open and real and shining," Elfman sobbed openly. "That's the manliest romance I've ever witnessed." "Elfman, sit down," Evergreen hissed. "I can't, my legs won't work." Natsu was vibrating. "Does this mean I can fight him now?" "No," Gray said. "Why not?" "Because you die." "I would not." "You absolutely would." Lucy was writing furiously in her journal, tears on her cheeks, muttering something about chapter 12, the blade and the light. Happy circled overhead. "They like each other." Naruto caught Urza's sword hand, pulled her forward, kissed her forehead right there in front of the entire guild. The sound that erupted from the audience could have been heard in the next town. Urza turned the color of her hair. She punched his shoulder hard enough to spin him sideways. He laughed and caught his balance. She was glaring. She was also not letting go of his hand. "You did that on purpose," she said. "Guilty. In front of everyone. Yep, I will armor you into the ground. Worth it." She punched him again, lighter this time. He was still grinning. She was still holding his hand. They walked back to the guild together, and the noise behind them sounded like a festival. Kana was popping open bottles. Macau was collecting bets. Wakaba was crying into his pipe, and Makarov, watching from his window, felt his old heart do something it hadn't done in years. It swelled. That boy, he said to no one, is going to be the best thing that ever happened to this guild. He was right. The Eurasian size came 3 weeks later. The Allied forces assembled in the Blue Pegasus manor. Representatives from Fairy Tail, Blue Pegasus, Lamia Scale, and Kate's Shelter brought together to stop a dark guild that threatened to unleash Nirvana, an ancient magical weapon capable of reversing the moral polarity of entire populations. Fairy Tail sent its heavy hitters. Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Urza, Happy, and Naruto, Blue Pegasus sent the Trimans and Ichiya. Lamia Scale sent Lion and Jura Nikis, one of the 10 wizard saints. Kate's Shelter sent a single girl, Wendy Marvel, a sky dragon slayer so small she barely reached Naruto's waist. Naruto looked at the assembled group. Powerful mages, strong wills, good people. Then he looked at the briefing materials on the Oración 6. 6 members: Brain, the leader; Cobra, the poison dragon; Racer, the speed mage; Angel, the celestial summoner; Hodai, the earth mover; Midnight, the reflector. 6 people? Naruto said. You assembled an alliance for 6 people? Jura, a massive, bald monk of a man with power that made the room feel heavier, turned to him. These 6 have defeated entire guilds. The Magic Council considers them among the most dangerous dark mages alive. Naruto considered this. He thought about the people he'd fought. Obito, Madara, Kaguya, literal gods, literal reincarnated armies. Okay, he said, let's go meet them. Ichiya, the perfume mage of Blue Pegasus, sidled up beside him. Your parfum is most extraordinary, young man. It smells of power and ramen. Please stand somewhere else. Men! They found the Oración 6 in the Worth Wood Sea, the ancient forest that hid Nirvana's sleeping form. The 6 dark mages stood in formation on a cliff overlooking the approach, arranged like they'd been waiting because they had. Brain stepped forward first. Tall, dark coat, staffed weapon. His face was marked with lines that pulsed with contained magic, and his eyes carried the cold intelligence of a man who had spent decades planning and manipulating. How generous, Brain said. They sent children. Then his eyes found Naruto. The staff in his hand cracked, just slightly, a hairline fracture running down the wood, caused by nothing visible. Brain's fingers tightened, his composure, carefully maintained, perfected over years, flickered. Because what he felt from the blonde boy standing at the center of the group was wrong. It was ancient, it was vast, and it did not belong to this world. Every member of the Oración 6 felt it. Cobra, the poison dragon slayer whose ears could hear thoughts, went rigid. His snake Cubelios hissed and recoiled. Cobra's eyes went wide. There are 2 voices in that one, he said. 2. One of them is human, one of them is old, older than anything I've ever heard, and it's hungry. I'm always hungry, Kurama said inside Naruto's mind. He means power hungry. That too. Midnight, the reflector mage, the one who bent reality around himself like a mirror maze, opened one lazy eye and looked at Naruto. His magic reached out instinctively, like trying to read the incoming power, trying to map it for future reflection. His magic bounced off Naruto's chakra like a marble off a steel wall. Midnight's other eye opened. Both were very wide. I can't read him, he said. What? Brain turned. His power. I can't read it. I can't categorize it. My reflector has nothing to work with. Midnight sat up fully. He almost never sat up fully. Whatever he is, he's outside my system. Brain's jaw tightened. He looked at Naruto with new eyes. The eyes of a man recalculating. Naruto looked at the 6 of them. He cracked his neck. So, he said, who's first? The fight started with everyone at once. Racer blitzed the allied forces. His slow magic made everyone around him feel frozen while he moved at what seemed like impossible speed. He tore through the first line, scattering Blue Pegasus and catching Lion off guard. He streaked toward Naruto. Naruto's hand came up and caught Racer by the face. The speed mage slammed to a dead stop, his legs flying forward, his momentum absorbed by a single open palm. His eyes bugged. He'd been moving at what his magic made feel like 300 miles per hour. He'd been stopped like a child running into a wall. That's not speed, Naruto said. That's a trick. You make everyone else slow. He lifted Racer by the face and looked at him almost pityingly. I've fought a man who teleported by switching places with reality itself. You're just jogging. He tossed Racer sideways. The dark mage hit a tree hard enough to uproot it. He bounced once, hit a boulder, and went still. The alliance stared. One down, Naruto said. He looked at the remaining 5. Keep going? They kept going. Hotai moved the earth, a wave of liquefied ground surging toward the Alliance. Gray and Lion combined their ice magic to freeze the wave. Jura countered with his own earth manipulation. The three of them handled Hotai together, and the Oration Seis member went down under the weight of three powerful mages working in concert. Angel fought Lucy, Celestial Mage against Celestial Mage. It was personal. It was fierce. Lucy won because Lucy had something Angel didn't: spirits who loved her. Cobra came for Naruto specifically because Cobra was the kind of person who heard a challenge and couldn't walk away from it. His poison dragon roar, a blast of corrosive venom that dissolved everything it touched, erupted toward Naruto in a spiraling column. Naruto raised his right hand. Wind chakra gathered. He drove the spinning sphere into the center of the poison stream. The wind dispersed the venom in every direction that wasn't Naruto's. The poison misted harmlessly. Naruto kept walking forward through the gap he'd created and caught Cobra with a palm strike under the jaw. Cobra's feet left the ground. He sailed 10 feet backward, landed, rolled, and came up snarling. His hearing, his ability to listen to thoughts, to predict attacks before they happened, was screaming at him. Because Naruto had two voices, two thought patterns, two sets of combat instincts happening simultaneously. Cobra could hear both, but they were out of sync with each other. Deliberately, Naruto and Kurama were thinking in tandem but at different speeds, creating a wall of mental noise that made prediction impossible. "Stop that!" Cobra shouted. "Stop thinking like that." "Like what?" "Like, there's two of you and neither of you makes sense." Naruto shrugged. "Welcome to my life." He flickered. Cobra didn't see the hit. He heard it coming. Two thoughts converging on a single action, but his body couldn't move fast enough to react. The Rasengan hit his stomach. Cobra folded. His body spiraled backward through 3 trees. The poison dragon didn't get up. Naruto turned to the remaining 2, Midnight and Brain. Midnight was on his feet now, fully awake. His reflector magic bent the air around him like a funhouse mirror, warping light, warping sound, warping the trajectory of anything that came close. It reflected attacks back at their source. It was, by the standards of this world, close to unbeatable. "Try me," Midnight said. "Whatever you throw, I send back." Naruto looked at him, then at Kurama. "He reflects magic," Kurama said. "Chakra isn't magic, but will it? There's one way to find out." Naruto extended his palm. Chakra gathered, dense, concentrated, a sphere that went beyond normal Rasengan. This was golden, infused with Biju power, wreathed in Nine Tails energy that burned like a star. Tailed Beast Rasengan. He threw it. The golden sphere screamed toward Midnight. The reflector activated. The air twisted. The mirror magic tried to grab the incoming attack and reverse its trajectory. The chakra sphere hit the reflector. For 1 second, the mirror held. Midnight's eyes were confident. His magic had never failed. Then the Rasengan pushed through. The reflector cracked, like glass. The sound was audible. A sharp, crystalline snap that echoed through the forest. Midnight's eyes went from confident to panicked in the space between heartbeats. The Rasengan exploded through his barrier and caught him dead center. The detonation leveled 50 feet of forest behind him. Trees snapped. Dirt erupted. The shockwave rippled outward and shook the canopy for a quarter mile. Midnight lay in the crater, unconscious. His reflector shattered around him in fragments of dissolving magic. Brain watched all of this. He watched his team, his carefully assembled, decades in the making collection of the most powerful dark mages he'd groomed since childhood, get dismantled in under 5 minutes. Something inside him broke. The lines on his face glowed. His eyes rolled back. His body convulsed. The staff fell from his hands. When his eyes opened again, they were different. Empty. The intelligence was gone, replaced by something primal and hateful, Zero-Bot Brain's true personality. The one he'd sealed away because it was too destructive, too violent, too hungry. The personality that lived only to destroy. Zero's laughter cracked the air. Dark magic exploded from his body, a column of black energy that shot into the sky and scattered the clouds. The pressure was immense. Allied force members stumbled backward. Jura braced himself. Urza drew her sword. Zero's eyes found Naruto. "You!" he screamed. "You broke my toys. Let me show you what real power looks like." Dark Capriccio, a beam of concentrated darkness, spiraling, drilling, capable of piercing any defense, lanced toward the Alliance. It moved faster than any attack the Dark Guild had produced. It was the kind of technique that ended fights in one shot. Naruto stepped forward. Biju Sage Mode activated. The gold ignited. The cross-shaped pupils formed. Nature energy and Kurama's chakra merged into a form that made the entire forest lean away from him, trees bending as if caught in a gale. He raised one palm and caught the dark capriccio. The beam hit his hand and stopped. The drilling, piercing darkness met the golden light and was eaten alive. Naruto's fingers closed around the beam and crushed it. Dark energy leaked between his fingers and evaporated like smoke. Zero stared. Dark Capriccio, scream! A larger version, wider, more power. The beam tore up the earth as it traveled, carving a trench 20 feet deep. Naruto raised his other hand. Tailed Beast Bomb. The sphere formed above his palm, dark and golden, compressed beyond reason, heavy with the full force of a perfect Jinchuriki at full power. He threw it forward with a casual underhand toss, like he was skipping a stone. The two attacks met. There was no contest. The Tailed Beast Bomb ate the Dark Capriccio and kept going. It hit Zero at center mass and detonated. The explosion carved a sphere of destruction out of the forest half a mile wide. Trees were gone. Earth was gone. There was a crater so deep the groundwater was already pooling at the bottom. The shockwave rattled the ancient Nirvana structure buried beneath the forest and cracked its upper chambers. Zero lay at the bottom of the crater. His dark magic was gone. His body was broken. He was alive. Naruto had controlled the output, but he would not be standing up for a very long time. The sky above the forest was clear. Naruto had blown the clouds away. He dropped out of Biju Sage Mode, rolled his shoulders, turned back to the allied forces. They were statues. Every single one of them. Jura Nikis, one of the 10 wizard saints, one of the most powerful mages on the continent, was staring at the crater with an expression of profound, humble reevaluation. I see, Jura said quietly. I understand now why the council classified you as they did. Natural disaster? Naruto said. They may need to upgrade. Lion had sat down on the ground because his legs were done working. What? What even was that? Ichiya appeared from behind a rock. His parfum? It's even more extraordinary now, men! Naruto turned to look for Urza. She was standing right behind him, sword drawn, ready to jump in if needed. She hadn't needed to. She hadn't expected to need to. But she'd been ready. Their eyes met. Show off, she said. You love it. I tolerate it. Same thing. She punched his arm. He grinned. She tried to hide her smile. She failed. Wendy Marble, the tiny sky dragon slayer from Kate's shelter, was staring at Naruto with eyes the size of dinner plates. Naruto-san, are you a god? Nah, he ruffled her hair. Just a guy. Just a guy who creates craters, Gray muttered. With one hand, Lucy added faintly. One hand, Natsu screamed, fire erupting from his mouth. He did that with one hand. Fight me right now. After I finish eating, you're not eating anything. I'm about to be. Nirvana, as it turned out, had already begun activating during the fight. The ancient structure rose from beneath the earth, a walking city on massive legs, just like Phantom Lord's fortress, but ancient and radiating moral inversion magic that could turn good people evil with a touch. Naruto looked up at the massive structure rising against the sky. Kurama, how much chakra to take that down? Less than you used on Zero. Cool. He formed a Rasen Shuriken. The wind disc screamed in his hand, expanded, supercharged with sage energy, a technique that had killed a Zeref demon months ago and had only gotten stronger since. He threw it at Nirvana's central core. The ancient weapon of light and dark conversion, the feared doomsday device that had terrified the Magic Council for centuries, came apart like a house of cards in a windstorm. The Rasen Shuriken tore through its inner mechanisms, shredded its magical core, and the massive structure crumbled inward on itself. It fell back into the earth with a sound like thunder rolling backward. The Worth Woodsea was quiet. The Oracion size defeated. Nirvana destroyed. The Alliance victorious with minimal casualties. In the silence that followed, Naruto sat on a boulder, eating a ration bar he'd stolen from Ichiya's pack, and thought about how nice it was that the bad guys in this world went down so much easier than the ones back home. Don't get cocky, Kurama said. I'm never cocky. You are always cocky. That's called confidence. It's called being an idiot who happens to be right. Naruto grinned. They went home. 2 months of peace followed. 2 months of guild life that felt like breathing in and out. Naruto trained with Urza every morning. She was getting faster, genuinely faster, shedding the reliance on heavy armor like a snake shedding skin. She still equipped when she needed to, but her base combat ability was reaching heights that made the other S-class mages pay attention. Naruto was proud of her. He told her that once, privately, and she punched him so hard he went through the training ground fence. He considered it a compliment. Then Magnolia disappeared. One moment the town was there, the next, gone. Sucked into the sky by a swirling vortex of light that tore through reality and pulled everything within the city limits into another dimension. Edolas, a parallel world where magic was finite, stored in physical objects, rationed and controlled. Where Fairy Tail was a rebel group hiding in a basement. Where the king hoarded all magical energy for himself and his army. Where the atmosphere itself drained magic from anyone who used it. The Fairy Tail mages woke up scattered across the Edolas landscape. Their magic weakened, their bodies adjusted to a world that was actively hostile to what they were. Naruto woke up in a field of blue flowers and felt absolutely fine. He sat up, stretched, looked around. Kurama? I'm here. Everything's normal. The magic drain? Doesn't apply to us. Chakra is internal. It comes from you, from me, from the combination of physical and spiritual energy in your body. This world can drain Ether Nano all at once. We don't run on Ether Nano. Naruto stood up. He formed a Rasengan in his palm. Perfect. Full power. The sphere screamed with contained destruction. He let it fade and laughed. So in a world where magic doesn't work, you work just fine. This is going to be fun. It was. He found the others quickly. Natsu and the Earthland team had been scattered, but were regrouping, guided by Miss Stogan, the mysterious S-class mage who turned out to be the Prince of Edolas. Natsu and Wendy had eaten special pills that let them use magic in this world. Gray, Lucy, and Urza were without their full power. Urza saw Naruto and relief broke across her face before she controlled it. You're unaffected. Chakra doesn't play by their rules. Of course it doesn't. They infiltrated the Edolas royal city, a towering metropolis of stolen magic and military control. The King Faust had captured the Earthland Fairy Tail mages and converted them into a giant lacrima crystal, intending to use their magical energy as a permanent power source. The city was heavily guarded. The royal army had weapons and vehicles powered by stored magic. They had an elite guard. They had the Dragon Chain Cannon, a weapon designed to pull dragons out of the sky. And they had Urza Nightwalker. Naruto felt her before he saw her. The energy signature was eerily similar to the woman beside him. The same fierce core, the same burning intensity, but colder, harder. A blade without a sheath. She stepped into their path in the castle corridors. Silver armor, a magic spear. Red hair cut shorter than his Urza's, worn like a banner of war rather than beauty. Nightwalker looked at him, then at the Urza beside him. Another me, Nightwalker said. Her voice was ice. Pathetic. You're wearing civilian clothes. I'm wearing what I choose to wear, Urza replied. Her hand was on her sword. She could requip in any dimension. The pocket space was hers, but her expression was controlled. Naruto looked at Nightwalker, really looked. Same face, same red hair, same dark eyes. But where his Urza carried strength like a choice, something she'd earned, something she'd built from the ruins of the worst things that had ever happened to her. Nightwalker carried it like a cage. A woman who had been shaped by a kingdom that valued nothing but force, who had never been given the chance to be anything other than a weapon. She's got your eyes, Naruto said to his Urza, but she's missing whatever makes yours worth looking at. Both Urzas stared at him. Nightwalker's spear came up. The real Urza's face went crimson. That was so embarrassing, you idiot, Urza hissed. You're blushing. I am going to armor you into the ground. Nightwalker was looking between them with an expression caught between fury and confusion. Are you two together? Unfortunately, Urza said at the exact moment Naruto said, absolutely. Urza glared at him. He smiled. Nightwalker attacked. Urza intercepted. The two Scarlet Warriors clashed in the corridor, sword against spear, requip against Edola's weapon, two versions of the same woman fighting with everything they had. The sound of steel on steel rang through the castle like church bells. Naruto let Urza handle it. This was hers, just like Gray's fight with Lion had been Gray's. Some battles belonged to the person fighting them. He headed deeper into the castle, toward the lacrima, toward his people. The dragon chain cannon fired at the massive lacrima crystal suspended above the city, the crystal that held Fairy Tail. Mistogen was working to return the trapped mages to Earthland, but the process was slow, too slow. The cannon was designed to destroy the crystal entirely. Naruto appeared in front of it. The cannon beam, a concentrated lance of stored dragon energy, hit his Kurama avatar head-on. The golden fox materialized around him in a flash of light, catching the beam in its jaws, the same way it had caught Jupiter. The fox swallowed it. Then it turned toward the cannon emplacement and opened its mouth wide. Tailed Beast Bomb. The sphere formed between the golden fox's jaws, dark and bright in equal measure. The soldiers operating the cannon had about 1 second to understand what was happening before the bomb launched. The dragon chain cannon ceased to exist. The explosion took out the entire eastern wing of the castle. Stone and steel and stored lacrima erupted outward in a mushroom cloud of debris. The shockwave shattered windows across the royal city. Faust, watching from his throne room, felt his kingdom tremble. "What was that?" the king demanded. A terrified soldier stumbled through the door. "Your Majesty, a golden creature. It destroyed the cannon. It ate the beam and ate it? Ate it, Your Majesty." Faust's grand plan unraveled from there. Mistogen completed the conversion. The Earthland fairy tale mages were freed from the lacrima and returned home. The stolen Ethernano was being drawn back to Earthland. Aeolus was losing its magic. Permanently, in desperation, Faust activated Dorma Annum, a massive dragon-shaped mech armor, powered by concentrated magic, the most powerful weapon in Aeolus' arsenal. It rose from beneath the castle like a nightmare. 300 feet of armored dragon, bristling with magical cannons and reinforced with anti-magic plating. Natsu, Gajeel, and Wendy, the 3 dragon slayers, took it on. Their dragon magic was the one thing the anti-magic plating couldn't fully absorb. Naruto watched from a rooftop as the 3 young mages threw themselves at the dragon with everything they had. Natsu roaring fire, Gajeel hurling iron, Wendy healing and boosting their attacks. "Should we help?" Kurama asked. Naruto watched Natsu punch through the mech's chest armor with a Fire Dragon King fist. "Nah, they've got this." Dorma Annum fell. Faust was deposed. Mistogen took the throne. Prince Jalal of Aeolus, a good man who would lead a world learning to live without magic. As the anima reversed and began pulling the Earthland mages home, Naruto found Happy. The blue cat was standing on a hill overlooking the Exceed village, staring at 2 cats who looked just like him. Happy's parents. The cat didn't know what to say. His wings were folded. His eyes were wet. Naruto knelt beside him. He didn't speak. He just put his hand on Happy's head and stayed there while the little cat figured out how to say goodbye to parents he just discovered. They went home through the reversed anima, back to an Earthland that welcomed them with sunlight and the smell of the ocean. Naruto carried Happy on his shoulder the whole way back to the guild. He didn't talk about it. Nobody asked. But Urza, walking beside him, reached over and squeezed his hand once, and he knew she understood. The S-Class trials came in the fall. Tenru Island, Fairy Tail's sacred ground, the place where the first master was buried, protected by ancient enchantments and the fairy sphere barrier. Naruto didn't need the trial. He was already S-Class. He walked onto the island as Urza's partner for the examination, there to observe and support. The island was beautiful. Ancient trees, warm air, magic so dense it felt like walking through silk. The nature energy was incredible, richer than anything Naruto had ever sensed in the elemental nations, thicker even than Mount Myoboku. "If I went into sage mode here," he told Urza as they hiked through the forest, "I think I could sense the entire continent." "The entire continent? Maybe more." She shook her head. "Sometimes I forget how absurd you are." "Only sometimes, when I sleep. You talk about me in your sleep." She turned red. "I absolutely do not. Lucy told me." Lucy is a dead woman. The trials were interrupted. Grimoire Heart, the strongest dark guild in the Balam Alliance, the puppet masters behind Oracion Seis and Phantom Lord, descended on Tenru Island with an airship and 100 dark mages and their 7 kin of purgatory. Their target, Zeref, the black wizard himself, who slept somewhere on the island. Their master, Hades, the former second guild master of Fairy Tail. The man who had trained Makarov, Naruto felt the airship before it appeared. The dark magical signatures aboard were concentrated and aggressive, 7 particularly powerful ones, and one that was deep, ancient, and steeped in knowledge that predated the current age of magic. Company, he told Urza. How many? A lot, but only a few that matter. The 7 kin scattered across the island. Fairy Tail responded, the trial was abandoned, and every mage became a soldier. Zancro found Naruto first. The God Slayer was laughing before he even attacked. Black flames erupted from his body, divine fire, flames that surpassed dragon fire, flames that burned everything including other flames. God Slayer fire! Zancro screamed, hurling a wave of black flame that consumed trees and stone and air itself. Nothing survives this! Nothing! Naruto activated Sage Mode. The orange pigment appeared. His senses expanded. He felt the black fire approaching, felt its structure, its composition, the way it burned on a fundamental level rather than a chemical one. Then he raised his hand. Wind style! Rasen Shuriken! The spinning disc of wind screamed from his palm. It hit the wall of black fire and carved through it. The Rasen Shuriken didn't burn. It cut. Millions of microscopic wind blades shredding at the molecular level. Godfire meant nothing to an attack that bypassed thermodynamics entirely and simply took things apart. The Rasen Shuriken punched through Zancro's flames and hit the God Slayer in the chest. The detonation sphere expanded. Zancro was caught inside a prison of invisible wind blades, each one cutting at the cellular level. His God flames couldn't burn wind. His divine power couldn't stop physics. When the sphere collapsed, Zancro was on the ground, unconscious. His black flames extinguished. Natsu, who had been fighting Zancro moments before with 0 success, stared. How did? His fire was eating my fire. I couldn't touch him. Dragon fire, God fire, doesn't matter, Naruto said. Wind doesn't burn. Natsu blinked. Then his face split into the biggest grin Naruto had seen from the Dragon Slayer yet. That's genius! Teach me wind. You're a fire mage, Natsu. I'll learn. That's not how it works. I'll make it work. Altair and Merity engaged Naruto as a pair, Arc of Time and McGuilty Sense, a combination meant to disorient and disable. Altair froze and reversed the time of objects around him. Merity linked sensory connections between fighters. Naruto didn't even enter Kurama Chakra mode. He stayed in Sage mode, read every attack through nature energy perception, and dismantled both women with taijutsu alone. A palm strike that sent Altair through a tree. A gentle but firm takedown that left Merity pinned and confused. He didn't hurt them more than necessary. He could feel the conflict in both of them. The way Altair's heart beat differently than her actions suggested. The way Merity's loyalty was based on love rather than malice. You're on the wrong side, he told Altair as she lay in the dirt, her magic spent. You don't know what side I'm on. Yeah, I do. You're on the side that hates what you've become. I've met people like you before. They changed. Her eyes widened. He walked away. She stared at his back. Something cracked behind her ribs. Azuma. The great tree archmage of the 7 kin was Urza's fight. He had fused with the Tenru tree, the source of Fairy Tail's protective enchantment. Through the tree, he could drain every Fairy Tail mage on the island of their power. He held the entire guild hostage in his roots. Urza fought him alone. She demanded it. This was about the guild's roots, the guild's heart. And she was Titania, the shield, the sword, the armor between her family and harm. Naruto watched from a distance. He could have ended it in seconds. A single Rasengan in Azuma would have been a memory. But he'd learned, was still learning, would never stop learning, that some fights belonged to the person fighting them. Urza needed this. She needed to prove she could protect her family with her own strength. So he watched, ready to move, a breath away from intervention if she faltered. She didn't falter. She fought Azuma to a standstill and broke through his defenses with her bare fists. No armor, no sword, just the woman underneath all the steel. The raw, unbreakable will of Urza Scarlet. She won. She collapsed immediately after, drained and battered. Naruto was there before she hit the ground. He caught her, held her. His golden light flowed into her, warm, healing, Kurama's chakra mending what it could. I did it, she whispered. Yeah, you did. You were going to step in. If I had to. You didn't have to. I know. He smiled down at her. That's why I'm proud. She closed her eyes and rested against him. For 30 seconds, in the middle of a war, they were just two people who loved each other. Then Hades came. Master Hades, Precht Gaebog, the second master of Fairy Tail, the man who had placed the guild mark on Makarov's skin, descended from the Grimoire Heart airship like a shadow made flesh. He was old, ancient, by mage standards. His body was maintained through dark magic and augmentation. A heart replaced by a demon's device, eyes that could see the flow of all magic, knowledge that spanned a century of study. His chain magic rattled through the air like the sound of a prison being built around you. His Amaterasu formulas, geometric seals of pure destructive magic, appeared in the air and detonated with enough force to level city blocks. He had defeated Makarov, personally. The old master was down, injured, and the guild was reeling. Team Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Urza, and Wendy fought Hades together. 5 of Fairy Tail's strongest, working in concert, throwing everything they had at the former master. It was a good fight, a brave fight, and they were losing. Hades was too strong, too experienced. His magic was layered, attack and defense and counterattack woven together in combinations that had been refined over a century. He broke through Natsu's fire. He cracked Gray's ice. He shattered Urza's armor. He overpowered Lucy's spirits and Wendy's support. "This is the power of Fairy Tail?" Hades said, and his voice dripped with disappointment. "Makarov taught you nothing." Natsu, beaten and bleeding, dragged himself upright. "We're not done." "You are." Hades raised his hand. Dark magic gathered. Nemesis. The spell activated. Demons of darkness materialized from the rubble around them, twisted, screaming creatures born of destruction itself. They surged toward the downed Fairy Tail mages. A golden light filled the clearing. Naruto landed between Hades and his friends. Biju Sage Mode. Full power, no warm-up, no hesitation. The golden cloak erupted around him and the island shook. The nature energy on Tenru was so rich that Sage Mode hit differently here. The orange pigmentation spread further. His senses expanded to cover the entire island. He could feel every living thing, every mage, every animal, every blade of grass, and he could feel Hades. The old man was powerful. Genuinely powerful. A century of knowledge and dark magic and augmentation had created something formidable. But Naruto had fought gods. Hades felt the change in the air. He turned. His devil's eye, the magic-perceiving organ behind his eye patch, fixated on Naruto. What he saw made his blood run cold. Through the devil's eye, magic appeared as colors and currents. Mages appeared as lights of varying brightness. Even the strongest, Makarov, the wizard saints, the legendary figures of the age, appeared as bright flames. Naruto appeared as a sun, an actual, literal sun, a sphere of golden energy so vast it filled the devil's eye's entire field of vision. The brightness was blinding, the depth was bottomless, and behind it, behind the human shape, behind the golden light, something else moved. Something massive. Something with 9 tails and ancient burning eyes. Hades' mechanical heart stuttered. "What are you?" he breathed. Naruto looked at him. The cross-shaped pupils of Biju Sage Mode, golden, ancient, carrying the weight of Kurama's 1,000 years and Naruto's impossible will, met the devil's eye. "Someone who protects what's his," Naruto said. "That's all." Hades attacked. Because he was who he was, and retreat was something he'd abandoned a century ago. Amaterasu formula, 100. 100 magical seals appeared simultaneously, each one a bomb, each one powerful enough to destroy a building. They ringed Naruto in a cage of geometric destruction and detonated. The explosion was massive. The forest disappeared. Trees vaporized. Stone melted. The blast wave flattened everything within 500 feet. When the dust settled, Naruto was standing in the same spot. Golden cloak flickering, arms at his sides, untouched. Hades' eye twitched. Chain magic, binding serpent. Dark chains erupted from the ground, dozens of them, each one enchanted to bind and drain. They wrapped around Naruto's arms, legs, torso. Naruto flexed. The chains shattered like glass. Grimoire Law, the forbidden fairy law counterpart, a spell of absolute judgment that targeted anything the caster deemed an enemy. Dark light exploded outward in a sphere. Naruto's golden cloak burned brighter. The Yang chakra, pure life energy. The same force that had shielded him against the Jubi's darkness met the Grimoire Law and simply overrode it. The dark spell dissolved against the golden light like ink dropped into an ocean of warmth. Hades stumbled backward. For the first time in a century, His face showed something other than cold calculation, fear, the quiet kind, the kind that comes before understanding. "You're fighting a tailed beast," Naruto said, "the strongest one, and I'm the human who became his partner. Everything you've built, your dark magic, your century of study, your demon heart, it's impressive. In this world, you're one of the strongest things alive." He took a step forward. "But you attacked my family." The golden light intensified. Shadow clone jutsu. 50 Narutos appeared, each one in Biju Sage mode, each one carrying a Rasengan barrage. They hit Hades from every direction simultaneously. 50 golden spheres, 50 simultaneous impacts. The detonation was so violent the island's protective barrier flickered, trees flattened outward in a perfect circle. A mile of forest went down. The airship in the harbor tilted from the shockwave. The fairy tale mages watching from the clearing, injured, exhausted, barely standing, felt the ground try to buck them off their feet. When the light faded, Hades lay in a crater. His dark magic was gone. His chain magic was silent. His robes were destroyed. His mechanical heart, exposed through the ruin of his chest, sputtered and cracked. He looked up at the golden figure standing over him and understood, with the clarity that only comes at the end of a long road, that he had spent a century chasing power, and it had led him to this moment, lying at the feet of a boy who had more of it in his smallest finger than Hades had accumulated in a lifetime. "Makarov," Hades whispered, "what kind of monster did you find?" "He found a person," Naruto said. "That's all any of us are." Hades closed his eyes and did not open them again. The island breathed. The Dark Guild's presence lifted like fog in morning sun. Grimoire Heart's mages retreated, carrying their defeated master. The seven kin were broken. The Dark Guild's power was ended. Fairy Tail gathered in the clearing. Beaten, bruised, alive, Makarov, supported by Mirajane, looked at Naruto with eyes that held more pride than the old man could put into words. "My boy," Makarov said. "Thank you." Naruto bowed. Actually bowed. A shinobi's bow, the kind he'd given to very few people in his life. "Any time, old man." Then the sky went dark, a roar split the heavens. A sound so deep and primal it bypassed the ears entirely and registered in the bones. Every mage on the island felt it. A vibration that said predator in a language older than humanity. Acnologia descended. The black dragon. The Dragon King. The apocalypse given wings and scales and 400 years of compressed rage. It dropped from the sky like a meteor, black scales absorbing light. Wings wider than the island's clearing, jaws open in a roar that shattered stone. The fairy tale mages, exhausted, injured, fresh from a war, looked up and saw death. Makarov grew to titan size. "Run! All of you!" Nobody ran. Naruto stepped forward. He looked up at Acnologia, this mountain of ancient destruction, this creature that had ended the Dragon King festival, that had consumed so many dragons its body had become an engine of annihilation, and his eyes went full Biju Sage. "Kit," Kurama said, "this one is real. Dragon King tier, the most powerful being this world has ever produced." "I know." Naruto's feet set, his golden light blazed. "So am I." He jumped straight up, from the ground to Acnologia's jawline in a single bound, 500 feet of vertical distance covered in a heartbeat. His golden fist connected with the Dragon King's chin. Acnologia's head snapped backward. The Dragon King, the immortal, the unkillable, the creature that had never been matched by anything in Earthland's history, was rocked. Naruto didn't give it time to recover. Wind style, Rasen Shuriken. He formed the screaming disc of wind and chakra and threw it at Acnologia's neck. The wind blades connected with scales harder than any material in either world and bit in. Black scales cracked, dark blood sprayed. The dragon roared, and this time the roar was pain. Acnologia's wings swung around. The backlash caught Naruto and sent him hurtling toward the ground. He cratered into the island's surface hard enough to create a new lake. He was up in half a second. Tailed beast bomb! The dark and golden sphere screamed upward and hit Acnologia's chest. The explosion was nuclear in scale. A dome of pure destruction expanded outward, washing over the dragon's body, testing scales that had resisted everything this world could produce for 4 centuries. The scales held, barely. Cracks spider-webbed across the black surface. Blood leaked from a dozen new wounds Acnologia dove. Its jaws, each tooth the size of a person, aimed for Naruto's body. Naruto met it head-on. The Kurama avatar materialized. the golden fox, translucent and blazing, rising around him in a flash of burning light. Fox met dragon in a collision that the ocean floor felt. The island cracked down the middle, claws against claws, tails against wings. The Dragon King and the nine-tailed fox, a battle that should have been impossible, tearing apart the sky above Tenru Island. Below, the fairy tale mages could only watch. Natsu's flames had gone out again. Gray was on his knees. Lucy was holding on to Urza's arm. Urza watched with burning eyes. She wasn't afraid. She was waiting, ready. If he fell, if somehow, impossibly, he fell, she would be there. The Kurama avatar caught Acnologia by the throat. 9 tails wrapped around the dragon's body. The fox's jaws opened. Acnologia broke free. The Dragon King's raw physical strength shattered the avatar's grip. A wing buffet sent the golden fox stumbling. A point-blank dragon's roar, a beam of pure destructive magic, hit the avatar's chest and punched through. Naruto dropped out of the avatar, chakra steaming, and went back to human-scale combat. Sage art, massive Rasengan in each hand. He hit Acnologia's face, twice. The dragon's head whipped left, then right, but Acnologia was done. The Dragon King had come here on a whim, drawn by the scent of battle, curious about the Dark Guild's invasion. This was supposed to be annihilation. Easy, routine. The way it always was. This was not routine. This boy, this impossible golden creature had heard it, had cracked its scales, had matched its strength, had met its roar with a fox god snarl. Acnologia was not afraid. Acnologia could not feel fear. Not anymore. But it could feel something else. Something its 400-year-old predator brain interpreted as, this prey bites back harder than expected, and there are no witnesses worth impressing. The Dragon King spread its wings, rose into the sky, and departed. Naruto landed on the island's surface, golden light fading, breathing hard. Sweat ran down his face. His cloak was torn. Blood from a cut above his eye painted a red line down his cheek. He'd driven off the Dragon King. Nobody spoke. Nobody could speak. Then Makarov sat down heavily and said, very quietly, I need a bigger beer. The fairy sphere activated minutes later. First Master Mavis's ultimate protection spell, triggered by the guild mark on every fairy tale member's body, a spell of absolute defense that preserved its targets in a state of suspended time. The sphere enclosed the island. Golden light wrapped around every fairy tale mage. Naruto felt it, warm, familiar, carrying the same protective intent as Kurama's chakra, but different in flavor. What? He started. Then the world went gold, and everything stopped. 7 years passed. The world moved on without them. Fairy Tail was declared dead. Their guild hall, their names became memories, then legends, then the kind of stories people told at bars with sad smiles. 7 years. Then the sphere released. Naruto opened his eyes. Urza was beside him. Urza was beside him. The sunlight was the same. The air was the same. His body felt the same. But the world was different. They sailed back to Magnolia and found a town that had mourned them. The Fairy Tale Guild, what was left of it, operated out of a tiny shack at the edge of town. The members who hadn't been on the island were older, sadder, diminished. Then they walked through the door. Alzak and Biska, married now with a daughter, saw them and screamed. Jet and Droy fell over each other trying to reach Livy. Macau, who had been guild master in Makarov's absence, broke down completely. 7 years, he kept saying. 7 years we thought. We're here, Makarov said. We're home. The reunion was everything, loud and tearful and chaotic and so perfectly fairy tale that even Kurama, who would never admit to sentimentality, went quiet for a long time. Naruto and Urza stood together in the middle of it all. 7 years gone from the world, but for them it had been minutes. They'd lost nothing of themselves, but the world had lost them, and the weight of that was felt in every crying face and every crushing embrace. 7 years, Urza said quietly. We'll make up for it, Naruto said. She took his hand, squeezed it. Together, always. The Grand Magic Games were Fairy Tail's chance to prove they were still alive, an annual tournament held in Crocus, the capital, a massive spectacle of magical combat and competition. Every guild in Fiora participated, the strongest fought, the world watched. Fairy Tail entered 2 teams. Team A, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Urza, and Wendy. Team B, Gajeel, Juvia, Mirajane, Laxus, and Miss Stogan's stand-in. Naruto did not enter. You could win the entire tournament alone, Urza said. That's exactly why I shouldn't enter. This is Fairy Tail's tournament. The guild needs this, all of them. They need to fight and win as a team. She studied him. That's surprisingly mature. I have my moments. One. You've had one. He laughed and kissed her cheek. She punched his shoulder. He sat in the stands. He cheered loudly. He watched his guild, his family, fight their way through the competition against Sabretooth, Lamia Scale, Mermaid Heel, and Blue Pegasus. Natsu fought Sting and Rogue. Won. Because Natsu always won when the people he loved were watching. Gray fought Lion and Chilia. Won. Because Gray had something to prove and the ice had never been stronger. Urza fought 100 monsters in Pandemonium. Alone. Won all 100. Because she was Urza Scarlet and 100 was just a number. Naruto watched that fight from the stands with his arms crossed and the proudest expression any human face had ever worn. She doesn't need you, Kurama observed. I know. That's why you two work. I know that too. The tournament was building toward its conclusion when everything went wrong. The Eclipse Gate, a time travel portal buried beneath the Crocus Palace, opened. A figure from the future appeared, Future Rogue, a version of the Shadow Dragon Slayer who had been consumed by darkness and now rode a dragon through a time rift. 10,000 dragons poured through the Eclipse Gate. 10,000. The sky filled with them. Wings and scales and fire and ice and every element imaginable. They blocked out the sun. Their roars shook the city. Buildings crumbled. People ran. The greatest mages in Fiora, assembled for a tournament, looked up and saw extinction. The stadium fell silent. Then it felt him. Naruto stood up in the stands. Kurama's chakra flooded out of him. It rolled across the stadium like a golden tide, washing over the terrified crowd, the stunned mages, the assembled guild masters. I am here. 10,000 dragons, he said. Kurama. Kit! Biju Sage mode, full power. The nature energy of Crocus, the capital city, the magical heart of Fiore, rich with concentrated ether nano, surged into him like water into a vessel. The sage chakra amplified everything. His golden light was so bright the stadium's shadow disappeared. He jumped from the stands. The air cracked behind him. He landed on the arena floor and looked up at the sky full of dragons. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 500 Narutos appeared. 500. Every clone in full sage mode. Every clone carrying enough power to qualify as S-class. They spread across the sky like a golden constellation, each one targeting a different cluster of dragons. The stadium. 10,000 spectators. Hundreds of mages, the king of Fiora himself. Watch 500 golden copies of one man engage an army of dragons. Sage art. Big ball Rasengan barrage. The sky lit up like a fireworks display designed by a god. Rasengans detonated against dragon scales. Wind-style techniques carved through wings. Tailed beast shockwaves pushed entire formations backward. Dragons fell from the sky. 1, 10, 50. The Eclipse dragons were echoes, temporal copies, strong in number but shallow in substance. They were not Acnologia. They were not dragon gods. They were phantoms given form, and Naruto was the light that burned phantoms away. The real threat was Future Rogue. He rode Mother Glare, the largest of the Eclipse dragons, above the city, directing the swarm. His shadow dragon magic was enhanced by 7 years of hate and the stolen power of Sting's white dragon magic. He was fast, powerful, and convinced that Naruto could not stop an army and fight him simultaneously. He was wrong. Naruto, the real Naruto, appeared in front of Mother Glare in a burst of golden speed. He moved faster than a dragon in flight. His hand caught Future Rogue by the collar and ripped him off the dragon's back. The two fell together. Rogue twisted, Shadow Dragon roar, firing point blank. Naruto took it on the golden cloak and didn't blink. You're from the future, Naruto said. Let me tell you what happens next. Rasengan. The sphere connected with Rogue's chest. The future Dragon Slayer spiraled downward and hit the arena floor hard enough to create a 20-foot crater. The Eclipse Gate, its anchor, shattered under the paradox of its summoner's defeat. The temporal dragons dissolved. 10,000 scaled figures flickered, faded, and vanished like bad dreams in morning light. The sky cleared. Crocus was damaged but standing. The mages were shaken but alive. The people were saved. Naruto dropped from the sky and landed in the middle of the arena. His golden light faded. He stretched his arms over his head and yawned. The stadium was silent. Then it erupted. The sound was deafening. 70,000 people screaming at once. The roar was louder than the dragons had been. People were crying. Mages from rival guilds were on their feet cheering. The king of Fiore was standing at his balcony with his mouth open. The Lacrima vision screens, the magical broadcast technology that had carried the games across the entire continent, showed one image. A blond boy with whisker marks on his cheeks, golden light fading from his skin, standing in a crater, grinning. Every person in Fiore saw that grin. Natsu barreled into Naruto at full speed. That was the greatest thing that has ever happened in the history of happening. Gray was staring at the sky where 10,000 dragons had been. He just saved the world, Lucy finished. She was already writing. Makarov smiled. He'd been smiling for years. This was the biggest one yet. Urza found Naruto in the chaos. She grabbed his hand. Didn't say anything. Didn't have to. Their fingers laced together, and they stood there in the middle of the ruined arena while the world lost its collective mind around them. "You're my favorite disaster," she said. "That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me." She almost laughed. Almost. Her eyes were bright. Tartaros came like a plague, the 9 demon gates, artificial demons created from the books of Zeref himself. Each one was a living weapon of curse power, designed to end the age of magic. Their base, the mobile fortress cube, floating in the sky above Magnolia like a dark promise. Their plan was Face, a network of 2,000 magical pulse bombs buried across the continent, each one capable of draining all Ethernano from the atmosphere. If they detonated simultaneously, magic would cease to exist. Every mage on the continent would become a normal person. Every magical creature would die. Every spell, enchantment, and barrier would fail. The end of magic. Fairy Tail learned about it when former council members started dying. One by one, assassinated by the demons of Tartaros. The 9 demon gates hunted them with cruelty, and by the time Fairy Tail mobilized, 3 council members were already dead. The guild went to war. Naruto felt the cube before they reached it. The curse energy aboard was dense, oily, wrong in a way that reminded him of the Jubi's malice, that same fundamental hostility to life that made the air taste like ash. "Demons," Kurama said, and his voice carried a weight that was personal. He had been called a demon for centuries. He knew the word's taste. "Different kind," Naruto said. "Still demons, still need putting down." The Fairy Tail mages infiltrated the cube. Natsu fought Jackal. Gray confronted Silver, his father, impossibly resurrected and twisted. Lucy faced Torofazar. Urza took Kyoka, the sadistic torturer who had taken her captive. Naruto went for the heart of the fortress. The demons he passed through didn't slow him down. Lesser Tartaros soldiers, each one equivalent to an A-class mage, fell to shadow clones and Rasengan so fast it barely registered as combat. He found Franmoth, the soul-absorbing demon, in a corridor. Franmoth tried to absorb Naruto's soul. He touched Kurama's chakra, and the demon was blasted backward by the sheer volume of what he tried to consume. Franmoth's eyes bulged, his body swelled. He had tried to drink an ocean through a straw. "Too much!" Franmoth screamed. "Too much! There's something else in there. Something huge!" "That's Kurama," Naruto said. "He says hi." "I said nothing of the sort," Kurama rumbled. Franmoth popped like an overfilled balloon. Ezel, the blade demon, was next. 4 arms, each one a sword. Speed and aggression and the arrogance of something that had never been matched. Naruto formed 2 Rasengans, one in each hand. Ezel swung all 4 arms simultaneously. 4 cursed blades from 4 directions. Naruto ducked the first, deflected the second with a Rasengan arm palm, sidestepped the third, and drove the 4th arm into the ground with a downward strike. Then he hit Ezel with both Rasengans at once. The demon went through the fortress wall and into the sky beyond. Face was the real threat. The 2,000 pulse bombs were counting down. The Fairy Tail mages were fighting brilliantly, holding their own against the 9 demon gates, protecting each other, refusing to break, but the bombs needed to be stopped. Naruto. Urza's voice in his ear through the communication lacrima. Face is activating. 2,000 devices. We can't reach them all in time. How long? Minutes. Naruto closed his eyes. Shadow clone jutsu. 2,000 Narutos appeared. Every single one at full combat capacity. The fortress groaned from the collective chakra output. "Each clone knows where a face device is?" Kurama asked. "Sage mode sensory. I can feel all 2,000 of them. They're buried across the continent, underground, underwater, in mountains. Each clone gets a coordinate." "That's impressive, kid. Thanks. Don't let it go to your head." The clones dispersed. 2,000 golden streaks radiating outward from the cube like the spokes of a wheel. Each one found a face device. Each one destroyed it with a Rasengan. Across the entire continent, simultaneously, the face network was dismantled by one man and 2,000 bodies. The countdown stopped. Magic was saved. Inside the cube, the real Naruto walked through the final door and found the throne room of Mardgeir Tartaros. The underworld king sat on his throne with the composed elegance of someone who believed himself to be the apex of creation. His dark eyes held the cold certainty of a being that had never encountered anything it considered equal. "You're the anomaly," Mardgeir said. "The one the other guilds whisper about. The golden disaster." "Natural disaster," Naruto corrected. "Get it right. Irrelevant. You are mortal. I am a demon of Ziref. The gap between us is the gap between an insect and a god." Naruto looked at him. "You know, the last person who called themselves a god around me got punched in the face. You cannot." She was an actual god, by the way, created dimensions, controlled gravity, had a third eye that could unmake reality. He cracked his knuckles. "You're a book character." Mardgeir's composure fractured. His curse power erupted, thorns of dark energy lancing from the floor, the walls, the ceiling. The entire throne room became a cage of cursed briars. Naruto blazed into Biju Sage mode, and the thorns burned away before they touched him. Golden light versus cursed darkness. The room strobed between the two. The fight was a war. Mardgeir was powerful, legitimately, dangerously powerful. His thorn curse reshaped the environment constantly. His Aetherius form, the demon's true body, a massive armored figure of black scales and dark energy, put out force that shook the cube. Naruto matched him blow for blow, Rasengan against Thorn Shield, Shadow Clones against Thorn Clones. Every exchange cracked the fortress further. Then Mardgeir played his trump card. Memento Mori. The ultimate curse, the death of magic. A darkness that spread outward not as a technique, but as a concept. The concept of ending, of non-existence, of absolute, final nothing. The darkness swallowed Naruto whole. The fairy tale mages watching on the fortress monitor screamed. Urza's hand flew to the screen. Lucy covered her mouth. Natsu's flames went out, and as Naruto stood, he could feel it trying to unmake him, trying to erase the very concept of his existence. It was cold and empty and infinite, and it pressed against his body from every direction with the weight of absolute negation. He'd felt this before, in the war, when the Jubi's power threatened to end everything. When the infinite Tsukuyomi tried to trap the world in a dream, when Kaguya's dimensions tried to crush him into nothing, he'd felt this before, and he'd walked through it. Golden chakra ignited inside the darkness, not the golden cloak, something deeper, the yang release, pure life energy. The fundamental force that said yes to existence, that pushed back against nothing with something, that burned brighter the harder the darkness pressed. He walked out. He stepped through the boundary of Memento Mori like a man walking through a curtain, golden light streaming from every inch of his body, and the darkness dissolved behind him like ice in summer. Mardgeir Tartaros, for the first time in his existence, felt something crack inside his certainty. Existence erasing technique, Naruto said. "I once fought the woman who made existence. You're going to have to do better." He extended his hand. Tailed beast bomb. Point blank. The sphere formed and detonated in the space between his palm and Mardgeir's chest. The king of the underworld was consumed by golden fire and force. His body shattered. His curse power dispersed. His throne crumbled. The cube began to fall from the sky. Below, it was falling toward Magnolia. Naruto stepped to the edge of the crumbling fortress, looked down at the city below, and formed one more technique. Sage Art, Big Ball Rasengan. He drove it into the cube's underside. The spinning sphere expanded, consumed the core of the fortress, and detonated. The cube didn't fall. It evaporated. Fragments of dark architecture rained down as inert dust, harmless as ash. Magnolia was safe. In the aftermath, Natsu's secret was revealed. The Book of End, Aetherius Natsu Dragneel. Natsu was Zeref's creation. A demon given the form of a boy, a weapon designed to kill the immortal wizard, hidden inside the body of a dragon slayer. The curse energy in the book surged. Natsu's eyes went dark. His temperature spiked. The end transformation began. Dark scales, burning eyes, power that radiated death. The guild froze. Lucy clutched the book. Gray stood with ice forming around his fists, tears on his face, ready to do what his father's devil-slaying magic had been designed for. Naruto stepped between them. He stood in front of Natsu, in front of the friend who had challenged him to a fight every day, who had charged into impossible odds beside him, who had been the first person to welcome him in this world. The end energy pressed against him, dark, hungry, the kind of power that consumed its host. Naruto knew this feeling intimately. He'd lived it for 17 years. "Natsu," he said. His voice was quiet, the kind of quiet that cuts through noise better than any shout. "Look at me." Natsu's dark eyes, burning with En's curse, found Naruto's. "I don't care what's written in that book," Naruto said. "You're my nakama. Your story isn't done." His hands moved. Seals, not magic, jutsu. The barrier technique he'd learned from studying the Uzumaki clan's sealing arts, modified for this world's curse energy. Adapted through months of research and preparation he'd never told anyone about, because he'd always known, on some level, that one of his friends might need saving from themselves. Uzumaki style, 4-point barrier seal. Golden characters erupted from his palms and wrapped around Natsu. The sealing energy contained the end curse, isolating it, pressing it back down, building a cage of chakra around the darkness that was trying to consume his friend. Natsu screamed. The dark scales receded. His eyes cleared. The book of End cracked. Its power over Natsu shattered. Natsu fell forward. Naruto caught him. "Ow," Natsu said weakly. "Yep. Was I? Doesn't matter. You're you." Natsu looked up at him. The Dragon Slayer, loud, reckless, the man who breathed fire and fought everything, had tears running down his face. "Thanks, brother." Naruto helped him stand. "Anytime." Urza watched from the side. Her hand was over her heart. The look on her face was the look of a woman who had just watched the man she loved do the most perfectly him thing he could possibly do. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The world after Tartaros was bruised but breathing. Fairy Tail officially disbanded. Makarov's decision. The old man left in the night, carrying burdens he refused to share, heading towards something he wouldn't name. The guild members scattered. Not in anger, in exhaustion. The battles had taken their toll. The revelations, Natsu's identity, the depth of Zeref's shadow, the fragility of the magical world had shaken foundations that needed time to resettle. Naruto didn't leave. He stayed in Magnolia. Built a small house on the hill overlooking where the guild hall had stood. Used shadow clones for construction. Took 2 days. Urza stayed with him. She could have gone anywhere. She had missions, obligations. The armor and reputation of Titania opened every door in the kingdom. She chose this door, the one with the blonde idiot behind it who cooked terrible food but gave the best hug she'd ever experienced. "You're going to burn the kitchen down," she told him on the first morning. "Relax, I'm making eggs." "Those are not eggs, those are small fires." "Same thing." She took over the cooking. She was surprisingly good at it, or at least better than him, which was a bar so low it was underground. They lived together, simply, quietly, in a way that neither of them had ever experienced before. Naruto trained in the mornings, sage mode meditation in the yard, nature energy flowing through him in rivers of warmth. Urza trained beside him, not meditation, because sitting still for extended periods was something she was learning, but forms, sword forms without swords. Body movement, the fundamentals Naruto had been teaching her. They talked in the evenings. On the roof, always on the roof. Because old habits were comfortable ones, she told him things she'd never told anyone. About the nightmares that still came. About the way certain sounds, chains specifically, or stone grinding against stone, made her body lock up before her mind caught up. About the version of herself she was afraid still existed underneath all the growth. The scared little girl in the tower, waiting to be hurt again. He listened, and then he told her things he'd never told anyone. About the loneliness that had been so deep for so long that it had become a physical presence in his chest. About the way he sometimes woke up in the middle of the night convinced he was back in his apartment in Konoha, alone, and the 3 seconds before he felt Urza beside him were the worst 3 seconds of any given day. 3 seconds, she said, 3 seconds, then I feel you and it's fine. Just fine, better than fine. She leaned into him. We're both damaged. Everybody is. We're just honest about it. When did you become wise? Kurama gives me lines sometimes. I do not, Kurama said. That one was all yours, Kit, and you can't give it back. The year of quiet ended when the Alvarez Empire declared war. The empire to the west, a continent spanning military power with 12 elite warriors known as the Spriggan 12, each one a kingdom-level threat. Their emperor, Zareth Dragneel, the Black Wizard, the Immortal, the man who had created Natsu, who had built End, who had started and ended more eras than most history books contained. The Spriggan 12 were terrifying. August, the Wizard King, the most powerful human mage alive. Irene Belsarion, the Scarlet Despair, the creator of Dragon Slayer magic, who carried 400 years of rage and loss in a body that had once been a dragon. Brandish, whose magic could alter the size of continents. Demuria, who stopped time. Bloodman, who wielded the particles of death itself. The Empire moved. 1,000,000 soldiers. 12 generals. One emperor, Fairy Tail reunited. Makarov's letter reached every former member. The guild hall was rebuilt in a single night by hundreds of hands. The banner went up, the doors opened, they came home. Naruto stood in the guild hall as the members filed in. Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Wendy, Gajio, Laxus, Mirajane, Kana, Elfman, Livy, everyone. They were older, harder, tempered by the year apart, and they were Fairy Tail. Makarov stood on the bar. Smaller than the bar, bigger than the room. Alvarez is coming. They have 1,000,000 soldiers and 12 monsters. We have each other. And Naruto, Natsu added. Every head turned to the blonde man leaning against the bar with Urza at his side. Makarov smiled. And Naruto. One of me's enough, Naruto said. But if you want, I can make 500. The guild laughed. The sound was defiant and warm and alive. The war began. The Alvarez forces hit Fiore from every direction. Multiple fronts, multiple Spriggan. The allied guilds and the Fiore military scrambled to respond. Naruto coordinated with Makarov. The old man's experience and the young man's power made for a combination that the Spriggan 12 were utterly unprepared for. Agil, the Desert King, for a sandstorm that blackened the sky over an entire front. Visibility 0. Sand that shredded steel. A wall of destruction that consumed everything in its path. Naruto raised his hand. Wind style. Rasen Shuriken. The wind disc screamed into the sandstorm and expanded. The wind didn't fight the sand, it redirected it. The entire storm split down the middle like a curtain being drawn, revealing Agil floating at the center with an expression of absolute disbelief. You cut my desert? I cut a lot of things. Naruto appeared in front of him via body flicker. Rasengan. Agil joined the growing list of Spriggan 12 members who had been introduced to the ground at high velocity. Demuria, Valkyrie, the war goddess, time magic that froze the world while she moved freely through stopped time. She activated it in the middle of a skirmish, froze every mage on the battlefield, and walked toward the Fairy Tail lines with a blade drawn. She walked past Naruto. Then she stopped, because Naruto was looking at her. He was looking at her in frozen time. His eyes, orange pigmented, sage enhanced, tracked her movement. How? She breathed. Sage mode, Naruto said. Nature energy exists outside of time. It's everywhere. It's always. You stopped time's flow, but you didn't stop nature. She attacked in panic. The blade swung. Naruto caught it between two fingers. Please stop, he said. She didn't. He broke her sword, tapped her forehead with a chakra-charged finger, and she collapsed. Time resumed. The battlefield never knew it had stopped. Bloodman came next. A demon made of death particles, toxic beyond measure, capable of killing with proximity alone. He walked toward the Fairy Tail lines and mages fell unconscious just from breathing near him. Naruto walked toward him. The death particles hit the golden cloak and dissolved. Kurama's chakra was older than death. It had existed since the Sage of Six Paths. It carried the weight of a being who had outlived civilizations. What? Bloodman croaked. Your poison is impressive, Naruto said. But I've had a demon inside me since the day I was born. Your particles feel like a light breeze. One Rasengan, one demon down. Irene Belsarion was different. She appeared on the battlefield like a force of nature. Tall, beautiful, with scarlet hair that cascaded down her back and a staff that radiated power older than most countries. Her enchantments reshaped reality itself. She altered the geography of the battlefield. She compressed an entire army into a marble. She changed the sky. She was also Urza's mother, the woman who had abandoned her, the dragon who had tried to destroy her own humanity, the Scarlet Despair, and the reason Urza's hair was red. Urza faced her. Had to face her. This was the wound she'd never known existed, now open and bleeding, and she needed to look it in the eye. Naruto fought Irene to buy Urza time. He engaged the enchantress across a mile-wide section of battlefield, and the exchange was intense. Irene's enchantments were versatile and powerful. She could alter the properties of anything, including the air itself. She turned the atmosphere to acid. Naruto blew it away with wind chakra. She enchanted the ground to swallow him. He walked on top of it with chakra-adhered feet. She transformed, dragon form, the body she tried for centuries to escape. Massive, scaled, fire that burned blue, Naruto called the Kurama avatar. Fox and dragon clashed for the second time in his life, and the earth cracked beneath them. "You're strong," Irene said through dragon jaws. "Stronger than anything in this age, and you're fighting the wrong battle," Naruto said. "Your daughter is standing right there. She has questions only you can answer." Irene's dragon eyes moved to Urza. Something in those ancient, hate-filled eyes shifted. Naruto dropped the avatar and stepped back. He gave Urza the space. Mother and daughter spoke. It was short. It was brutal. It was everything Urza needed. The truth about her birth, her abandonment, her mother's self-hatred. Irene fell. Her own choice in the end. A final enchantment that ended her own existence. Urza screamed. Naruto was there to catch her when she broke. He held her on the battlefield while the war raged around them. And he said nothing, because there were no words for this kind of loss. He just held on. She held back. August, the Wizard King, Zeref's secret son, the man who had copied every form of magic in existence, was the penultimate barrier. His copy magic was absolute. Any technique he witnessed, he could replicate perfectly. He had 100 years of collected power. He was, by every measurable standard, the strongest human mage alive. He could not copy chakra. Naruto faced him on a plain outside Magnolia while the allied forces fought behind barricades. August threw fire. Naruto walked through it. August threw ice. Naruto shattered it. August used crash magic, Gildart's own technique copied perfectly. It hit Naruto's golden cloak, and the cloak absorbed the impact. "I can't copy you," August said, and there was wonder in his voice. Genuine wonder. The wonder of a man who had copied everything in the world and found one thing he couldn't. "Your power, it's not from here. It doesn't follow our rules." "No," Naruto said, "it doesn't." "Then show me. Show me the power that exists beyond magic." Naruto showed him Biju Sage mode, full power. The golden light was blinding. What? The cross-shaped pupils burned. Tailed beast bomb. August tried to counter with every magic he'd ever copied. Simultaneously, 100 different spells woven together into a wall of absolute defense. The tailed beast bomb hit the wall and went through it. The explosion was visible from every front of the war. A pillar of golden light that punched into the sky and dispersed the clouds. The shockwave rattled Magnolia's walls. August lay in the aftermath, his copy magic broken, his body broken, but his eyes were at peace. "Beyond magic," he whispered, "what a beautiful thing." Zeref Dragneel waited at the heart of the war, the Black Wizard, the immortal, the man who had loved too much and been cursed for it. Ankh-Saram's contradiction, a being who killed everything he touched because a god had decided that love should carry a price. He stood in the ruins of the Fairy Tail Guild Hall, because of course he came here because Fairy Tail was Mavis's legacy, and Mavis was the woman he'd loved and destroyed. Naruto walked through the ruined doors and faced him. Zeref looked at him with black eyes that held 400 years of exhaustion. "You don't belong to this world," Zeref said. "Why are you still here?" Naruto met his gaze. "Because it's my world now." Zeref studied him. "You could have gone home. At any point, with your power, you could have torn through dimensions, found a way. Probably, but you stayed. I found something worth staying for." Zeref was quiet for a moment. Then, softly, "I had that once. It was taken from me. By the curse, by time, by my own foolishness." His hands clenched. "This war, all of it, is because I want one thing, to be able to die, to stop, to let go." "I can help with that," Naruto said, "but the war ends first." Zeref's expression hardened. "The war ends when I rewrite time itself. Fairy Heart, the infinite magic contained in Mavis's body, will power the Neo Eclipse. I will go back. I will fix everything. And this world, this broken, suffering world, will never have existed." "No. You can't stop." I said no. Naruto's voice was flat, absolute. The voice of a man who had been offered the chance to erase suffering before, infinite Tsukuyomi, the dream of a perfect world, the promise of a reality without pain, and had refused. Your suffering is real, Naruto said, and I'm sorry for it, but you don't get to erase everyone else's story because yours hurts. That's not how it works. Zeref's curse power erupted. Dark magic, amplified by Fairy Heart's infinite energy, poured from his body in a tidal wave. The guild hall disintegrated around them. The ground split, Naruto's golden cloak blazed, they fought. 400 years of accumulated power versus the full force of a perfect Jinchuriki. Zeref threw spells that erased matter. Naruto countered with Yang release that affirmed it. Zeref summoned the dead. Naruto's shadow clones tore through them. Fairy Heart activated fully. Zeref's power spiked to levels that warped reality around him. Space bent, time stuttered. The laws of physics became suggestions. Tailed Beast Bomb. The golden and dark sphere hit Zeref's infinite barrier. The barrier cracked. Fairy Heart's energy rushed to fill the gap. Naruto poured more into the bomb. More chakra, more sage energy, more Kurama. Kit, you're going to burn through my reserves, then give me everything. Everything? Everything, partner. Kurama was quiet for 1 second. Then the fox's massive presence filled Naruto completely. Every coil, every cell, every atom flooded with 1,000 years of power and trust. Everything, Kurama said. The tailed beast bomb doubled in size, then tripled, then became something that had no precedent in either world. A sphere of combined Biju chakra, sage energy, and human will so dense that reality itself bent around it like light around a star. It hit Zeref. Fairy Heart shattered. The infinite magic dispersed. Zeref's body, held together for 4 centuries by a curse that wouldn't let him die, finally received what it had been waiting for. Released, the Black Wizard lay in the ruins of the guild hall that his first love had built. The curse was fading. Death, real, permanent, merciful death, was coming for him at last. Zeref looked up at Naruto through failing eyes. "Thank you," he said. Then he was gone. Naruto stood in the crater, breathing hard, his golden light flickering. But the war was over. Except it wasn't. The sky split open. Acnologia returned, the Dragon King, drawn by the clash of infinite power, drawn by the death of the wizard who had created the Age of Dragons, drawn by 400 years of rage that had never found a worthy target, descended on Magnolia. He didn't come in dragon form. He came in human form. A man, tall, dark-skinned, wild-haired, eyes that burned with compressed dragon power so dense it distorted the air. His body was a weapon refined by centuries of consuming dragons until their power became his blood, his breath, his being. He walked toward Naruto through the ruins. "You," Acnologia said. His voice was the sound of tectonic plates shifting. "On Tenru Island, you hurt me." "Yeah, nothing has hurt me in 400 years." "Then you've been fighting the wrong people." Acnologia smiled. It was a terrible smile. The smile of something that had been bored for centuries and had finally found a challenge. "Show me everything," the Dragon King said. "Everything you have. I want to see if you can make me feel alive before I end this world." Naruto looked at him. This creature, this man-shaped apocalypse, the strongest being Earthland had ever produced, the walking extinction event that had haunted the world's nightmares for 4 centuries. He thought about Urza, about Natsu, about his guild, about the house on the hill, about the life he'd built in a world that had become his home. Kurama. "Already here. One more time? Always, Kit." Biju Sage Mode. Maximum output, the golden light that erupted from Naruto's body changed the color of the sky. The air turned gold. The ground beneath his feet cratered from the pressure alone. Nature energy, the thick, rich ether nano-infused nature energy of Earthland, flooded into him from every direction, amplifying his sage power to levels that exceeded anything he'd ever achieved. This was his peak. This was everything. Acnologia's dragon power surged in response. Dark scales crawled up his arms. His human form rippled with barely contained transformation. They moved simultaneously. The collision created a shockwave that knocked down every standing structure for a mile. They met in the center of Magnolia's ruins, fist against fist. The Dragon King's scaled knuckles against the golden glow of chakra-enhanced flesh. The impact was thunder. The ground cratered 10 feet deep. The air shattered outward. Acnologia swung again. Naruto ducked. His counter, a sage-enhanced knee strike, caught Acnologia in the ribs. The Dragon King skidded backward, his feet carving trenches in the stone. For the first time in centuries, Acnologia felt pain from a human-sized opponent. His grin widened. "More," the Dragon King said. He unleashed his dragon breath in human form, a concentrated beam of annihilation magic that turned everything it touched into nothing. Naruto formed the Rasen Shuriken. But this one was different. Earthland's nature energy infused it, the ether nano-rich sage chakra giving the wind disc a quality it had never had before. The edges burned with golden white fire. The scream of the spinning wind was deeper, more resonant, carrying harmonics that belonged to this world. Sage art, magma Rasen Shuriken. The enhanced disc met Acnologia's breath attack. The two forces ground against each other, annihilation versus creation, destruction versus the refusal to be destroyed. The Rasen Shuriken punched through. It hit Acnologia's chest and expanded. The detonation sphere caught the Dragon King and held him. Millions of enhanced wind blades, each one carrying the fire of Earthland's nature energy, tore at scales that had resisted everything for 400 years. This time, the scales gave. Acnologia roared. The sound broke the air itself. He detonated his own power outward, shattering the Rasen Shuriken sphere, and transformed, full dragon form. The black dragon rose from the ruins of Magnolia like a mountain taking flight. Wings blotting out the sky, jaws wider than buildings, power that made the atmosphere scream. Naruto called the Kurama Avatar. The golden fox rose to meet the dragon. The second clash between Kurama and Acnologia was different from the first. On Tenru Island, Naruto had been at a lower power level, fighting a dragon that wasn't fully committed. This was both of them. Everything, Kurama's tails, 9 burning appendages of golden chakra, wrapped around Acnologia's wings. The dragon thrashed. The fox held. Claws raked across golden light. Teeth bit into chakra constructs. The two titans rolled across the landscape in a tangle of destruction that leveled everything within 2 miles. Naruto, inside the avatar, drove it forward. Kurama's jaws locked around Acnologia's throat. The Dragon King broke free with raw physical power that should have been impossible. His tail swept around and hit the avatar's flank. Kurama staggered. Acnologia's breath attack charged point blank at the avatar's face. "Now, Kit!" Naruto formed it inside the avatar. The final technique, all of them, every technique he'd ever developed, fused into a single sphere. Kurama's chakra as the core, sage energy as the shell, wind nature as the blade. His will, his love, his purpose, his belonging, his refusal to let this world die. As the force that held it all together, the sphere formed between the avatar's jaws, dark and golden and white, spinning with the force of something that had crossed dimensions and found a reason to stay. Acnologia's breath fired. Naruto released his technique. The two attacks met and the world went white. When the light faded, minutes later, hours later, nobody could agree. Acnologia lay in a crater so deep it had hit the water table. His scales were cracked from head to tail. His wings were shattered. His ancient, rage-fueled body was broken in ways that 400 years of accumulated power could not repair. The Dragon King looked up at the golden figure descending toward him and understood, with the clarity of a being who had consumed gods, that this boy, this impossible, golden, grinning boy, was something that his world had never been meant to produce. Something from elsewhere. Something that transcended the rules. Acnologia closed his eyes. The Dragon King's era ended. Naruto dropped out of Biju Sage mode midair. He fell. The golden light was gone. His chakra was spent. His body had nothing left. He tumbled through the air with his eyes closed and a faint smile on his face because he'd done it. He'd beaten the strongest thing in this world. He'd protected everyone. Now he was just tired. Arms caught him. Silver armor. Scarlet hair. Dark eyes that held every feeling she'd ever tried to suppress and had finally, irrevocably failed to. Urza caught him. She'd been waiting. She'd been watching the entire fight from the ground, sword drawn, ready to throw herself into an apocalyptic battle between a dragon and a god fox. Because if Naruto was going to die, she was going to die beside him. She held him in her arms and he weighed nothing. "Hey," he managed. "You're an idiot," she said. Her voice was steady. Her eyes were bright. "You're idiot. Always." He passed out in her arms with the sky clearing above them and the world breathing its first free breath in 400 years. 2 weeks later, the rift opened, a spatial anomaly, a crack in the air above Magnolia that twisted with colors Naruto recognized. Colors from a different sky, the smell of a different wind, the taste of chakra that belonged to a world he left behind. He felt it from his house on the hill, sat up in bed. Urza, beside him, felt him move and was awake instantly. What is it? It's home. They dressed. They walked to the guild. By the time they arrived, the rift was visible to everyone, a swirling oval of light hanging in the sky above the courtyard, pulsing with an energy that every fairy tale mage could feel, but none could identify. Except Naruto. He stood beneath it and looked up. His blue eyes were bright. His face was still. The voice came through, carrying the weight of creation itself. It might have been the Sage of Six Paths. It might have been the world he'd left behind, calling with its own voice. Naruto Uzumaki. The war ended. Your friends won. Sasuke defeated Kaguya. Kakashi is the 6th Hokage. Sakura saved hundreds of lives. Your world is healed. You are needed. The guild went silent. Every member of Fairy Tail heard those words. Every one of them understood what they meant. A way home. Natsu's fire went out. Gray froze mid-movement. Lucy's hand went to her mouth. Wendy's eyes filled with tears. Makarov's staff touched the ground with a soft tap. Naruto stared at the rift. The swirling light played across his face. The whisker marks, the blue eyes, the features of a boy who had crossed dimensions and built a life on the other side. Kit, Kurama said. And for once, the ancient fox had nothing else to say. Urza stood beside him, closed but apart. Her hands were at her sides, tight, the knuckles white, the only sign of what this moment was costing her. She looked at the rift, then at Naruto. I will understand if you go, she said. Her voice was steady, her jaw was set. The armor was back, the internal kind, the kind she wore when she was preparing to lose something she couldn't afford to lose and needed to survive it anyway. Your world, your friends, your home. Each word was measured. I will understand. The courtyard was so quiet that the rift's hum was the only sound. Naruto looked at Urza. He looked at the rift. He looked at the guild, at Natsu, whose fists were shaking, at Gray, whose ice had melted, at Lucy, who was openly crying, at Happy, hovering in the air with tears streaming down his blue face, at Makarov, whose old eyes held a question he would never ask, at the banner above the door, the fairy tale mark, his guild. He looked at the rift one more time, at the colors of a different sky, the home that had made him, the world that was healed now without him. He thought about Sasuke, about Sakura, about Kakashi-sensei and Iruka-sensei and the Ichiraku ramen stand and the swing in front of the academy. He thought about them and he loved them and he let them go. I already have my people, he said. They're standing right here. He raised his hands. Chakra gathered in his palms. Dense, the same sealing energy that had saved Natsu from end. He pressed his palms to the air beneath the rift. Uzumaki sealing technique. Golden characters spiraled upward from his hands and wrapped around the rift. The dimensional tear shuddered. The light flickered. The colors of his old world swirled one last time. Blue sky, familiar chakra, the distant scent of ramen, and then collapsed inward. The rift sealed. The sky was empty. Naruto lowered his hands. For one heartbeat, nothing moved. Then Natsu erupted. Fire poured from his mouth. He screamed. He grabbed Naruto in a hug that would have killed a normal person. You're staying! You're staying! I knew it! I knew you'd stay! Get off me, Natsu! Never! Gray punched Naruto in the shoulder, then pulled him into a hug, then shoved him away, then hugged him again. You're so stupid, the stupidest. Thanks, Gray. Your shirt, Lucy sobbed. Gray looked down. Shirtless again. He didn't even swear this time. He just laughed. Lucy was crying so hard she couldn't see. Happy was crying so hard he couldn't fly. Wendy was crying and healing people simultaneously, which was very on brand. Gajeel pretended he had something in his eye. Juvia declared this the most romantic moment in history and collapsed into Gray's chest. Makarov walked forward. He was crying. The tiny old man who had led Fairy Tail through decades of impossible odds was weeping openly in the courtyard. He took Naruto's hand. Both of his hands wrapped around one of Naruto's. His grip was shaking. Thank you, Makarov said, for choosing us. You chose me first, old man. Makarov laughed. It was wet and broken and perfect. Urza had not moved. She stood where she'd been standing, hands still at her sides, face still controlled. She hadn't cried. She hadn't spoken. She was looking at him. Naruto walked to her. The guild parted. Even Natsu stopped yelling. He stood in front of Urza Scarlet, Titania, Queen of the Fairies, the strongest woman he'd ever known, and saw every wall she'd ever built in the process of quietly shattering behind her eyes. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. She stepped forward. Her arms went around him, her face pressed into his shoulder. She didn't cry. She just held on. And he held back. Tighter. The way you hold something you chose, something you choose again, something you choose every time. The guild watched. Nobody spoke. Even Natsu Kurama's voice came, quiet and warm in the space inside Naruto's mind. "Idiot." Naruto smiled against Urza's hair. "Yeah, good choice." The 100-year quest came to them 3 months after Acnologia fell, a mission that had gone untouched for a century. 5 dragon gods, Alderon, Ignia, Merkphobia, Selene, Dogramag, each one an entity of world-ending power scattered across the continent and beyond. The quest had been posted on the guild board since before Makarov was born. Nobody had attempted it. Nobody had been strong enough. Naruto and Urza took it. Together. With the team that had been through everything. Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Happy, and Wendy. Team Natsu, +1. The 5 dragon gods were ancient, older than Acnologia. Each one a force of nature given consciousness and hunger. Merkphobia, the water dragon god, controlled the ocean itself. His waves could swallow countries. His water pressure could crush mountains. Naruto and the team found him off the coast of a ravaged island nation. The water dragon god rose from the depths like a living tsunami, massive, scaled, eyes like abyssal trenches. Naruto went into the water. He walked on the surface. Kurama's chakra burned around him. The water dragon god sent a 100-foot wave. Naruto punched it. The wave split in half. 2 separate walls of water crashed down on either side of him. He walked across the ocean's surface toward a god, and the god blinked first. Merkphobia fell to a tailed beast bomb that evaporated a 1/4 mile of sea surface and left the water dragon god floating unconscious in the resulting steam cloud. Alderon, the wood dragon god, was a living continent, a tree the size of a country, with cities built on its branches by people who didn't know they were living on a sleeping god, roots that stretched for thousands of miles underground, a heartbeat that synced with tectonic shifts. Wind style tore through Alderon's bark like claws through paper. Naruto sent 200 shadow clones into the root system, while Natsu and the team handled the god's defenders, parasites and constructs that inhabited Alderon's body like antibodies. The real Naruto reached Alderon's core, a pulsing sphere of wood and magic the size of a stadium. Tailed beast bomb. The core shattered. The continent-sized tree shuddered, contracted, and collapsed inward. The cities on its branches were lowered gently to the ground, Naruto's clones cushioning the descent with chakra platforms. Alderon fell. Nobody died. Selene, the moon dragon god, was the trickster. She folded space, created pocket dimensions, pulled people into parallel worlds and watched them struggle. She pulled Team Natsu into a dimensional maze, a shifting labyrinth of alternate realities, each one twisted, each one designed to disorient and demoralize. Naruto walked through them. Every dimension, every reality, every pocket space Selene created. He walked through them the way a person walks through hallways. Because a boy who had fought Kaguya Otsutsuki, who had been dragged through dimensions of ice, acid, lava, and bone, treated pocket dimensions the way other people treated inconveniences. Selene watched from her dimensional throne as her greatest trick was ignored by a man who looked vaguely bored. "You're not impressed," the moon dragon god said. "I've seen better dimensions. The ice one was cool though." The ice one? That was a frozen death dimension designed to. "Yeah, but the ice was pretty." Selene attacked. Dimensional magic wrapped around Naruto like a cage. Kurama's chakra burned through it. The dimensions fractured. Selene's control shattered. One Rasen Shuriken later, the moon dragon god was down. "She had style," Kurama admitted. "The ice was pretty." "Stop saying that." Ignia, the fire dragon god, the son of Igneel himself, was Natsu's fight. Naruto knew it the moment they saw him. The fire, the scale, the way Natsu's entire body ignited just from proximity. "This one's yours," Naruto said. Natsu looked at him, then at Ignia, then back at Naruto. "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Natsu grinned. That grin. The one that said the universe was about to get punched in the face. The Dragon Slayer fought the Fire Dragon God, and it was the most magnificent thing Team Natsu had ever witnessed. Fire against fire. The son of Igneel against the god of flame. Natsu burned brighter than a star and hit harder than anything his size should have been able to. Ignia fell. Natsu stood, barely, smoking, grinning. The fire dragon god, beaten and awed, turned to Naruto. "And what about you?" Ignia asked. "What are you?" Naruto's answer was quiet. "The last thing anyone needs to fight." Ignia laughed. A booming, confident laugh. Then he sensed the chakra. The full breadth of it, unmasked for just a moment. The laugh stopped. "I see," Ignia said very quietly. "I see." Dogramag, the final dragon god, the gold dragon, the most reclusive and ancient of the five, fell to Naruto and Team Natsu working together. The combined might of Fairy Tail's greatest team, led by a man who had crossed worlds and beaten gods, overwhelmed the last dragon god. The 100-year quest was completed. 100 years of impossibility. Resolved. They went home. The guild celebrated for a week. The noise complaint from the Magic Council was 7 pages long. Naruto married Urza Scarlet on a spring morning when the cherry blossoms outside the guild were in full bloom. The ceremony was held in the guild courtyard, because where else would it be? Makarov officiated, standing on a stack of books so he could see over the podium. Urza wore a white dress. No armor. For the entire day, she wore no armor. She stood in the sunlight with her scarlet hair loose and her dark eyes shining, and she was so beautiful that even Kurama went quiet. Naruto wore a suit, orange tie. Because of course. "Dearly beloved idiots," Makarov began. "Master," Lucy hissed from the front row. "Dearly beloved family," Makarov corrected. "We are gathered here to witness something I honestly didn't think I'd ever see. Urza Scarlet, the woman who makes Dark Guild surrender on reputation alone, marrying the boy who punched through a harbor wall his first day in town." The guild laughed. Natsu was the best man. He cried the entire time. Fire came out when he cried, which set the podium ablaze twice. Gray was a groomsman. He lost his shirt 3 minutes into the ceremony. Juvia caught it and did not give it back. Lucy was the maid of honor. She read a passage from her novel about them and had to stop twice because she couldn't see through the tears. Happy was the ring bearer. He flew the rings down the aisle, singing a song he'd written specifically for the occasion. The lyrics were terrible. It was perfect. Naruto and Urza spoke their vows. His were simple. "I crossed worlds. I fought gods. I've done things that made the sky change color. But the bravest thing I ever did was sit next to you on a bar and offer you ramen, because that was the first step toward everything that mattered." Hers were shorter. "You told me I don't have to wear the armor. You were the first person who made me believe that." She paused. Her voice didn't crack, but it came close. "You are my home, Naruto Uzumaki. You have been since the moment you tapped my nose and told me the truth." Makarov asked if anyone objected. The silence was so aggressive that it was obvious anyone who did object would be immediately thrown through a wall by 60 people simultaneously. "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Naruto kissed Urza and the guild erupted. The cheer was so loud that it registered on magical seismographs 3 towns over. Natsu set the sky on fire. Gray created an ice sculpture that he accidentally froze Elfman into. Kana opened every barrel in the building. Happy's song reached a pitch that only dogs could hear. The celebration lasted 3 days. The Magic Council's noise complaint was 8 pages this time. It included a paragraph about structural damage to the surrounding environment caused by excessive celebratory magic discharge. Makarov framed it. Their daughter was born in winter, scarlet hair, like a flag in the wind. Wild from the first moment, thick and bright and unmistakably her mother's. Whisker marks on her cheeks, 3 on each side. Faint, like pencil lines drawn by a gentle hand. Unmistakably her father's. She came into the world screaming and didn't stop for 4 hours. The guild heard her from downstairs, and Natsu said she was already louder than him. Gray said that was impossible. Happy said she was perfect. Naruto held her for the first time, and the world narrowed to the size of his arms. She was small, impossibly small, pink-faced and furious, and already trying to grab things above her head. "Kushina," Naruto said. Urza, exhausted and radiant, looked at him. She knew the name. He told her about the red-haired woman who'd sealed a fox and her son to save a village and died with a smile. "Kushina," Urza agreed. Without hesitation, Kurama, deep inside Naruto's mind, felt the baby's presence for the first time and went very, very still. She has your chakra, the fox said. Yeah? And Urza's will. Is that bad? It's terrifying. I'm so proud. Kushina grew up re-equipping before she could properly walk. Urza had left a practice sword in the nursery, wooden, harmless, size for a toddler, and one morning they found the baby sitting in her crib, surrounded by 3 more swords she'd pulled from her mother's pocket. Dimension through sheer instinctive will. She was 11 months old. That's impossible, Urza said. That's our kid, Naruto said. By age 3, Kushina could summon wind from her palms. Gentle breezes that ruffled hair and knocked over cups and made Natsu chase her around the guild trying to figure out how a 3-year-old had wind chakra. She called Natsu Fire Uncle and Gray Cold Uncle and Lucy Book Lady and Happy Blue. She called Makarov Tiny Gramps. The old man cried for 20 minutes. Their son arrived 2 years after Kushina, blonde hair, bright as his father's. Urza's serious gray eyes, intense and focused from the very first minute. His chakra presence made Kurama rumble happily inside Naruto's mind the first time Naruto held him. This one, Kurama said, this one is special. They're both special. This one is going to be terrifying. The boy stared at his father with absolute focus. Didn't cry, didn't fuss, just looked at Naruto with gray eyes that seemed to be taking notes. Menma, Naruto said. Urza, holding Kushina on her hip while the girl tried to re-equip a sword from across the room, looked at her husband. She knew this name too, the boy from another world, another life, a version of their family that deserved to be real. Menma, she said, and smiled. Menma was quieter than his sister. Where Kushina was a storm, Menma was the eye of one. He watched. He thought. At age 4, Naruto found Menma in the backyard, sitting cross-legged in the grass, eyes half closed, hands on his knees, sage posture, perfect sage posture. The nature energy around the boy was stirring, gently, tentatively, the way water ripples when something enormous moves beneath the surface. Naruto sat down hard on the back steps and put his hand over his mouth. Kit? Kurama asked. Naruto didn't answer. His eyes were bright, his throat was tight. His son, 4 years old, meditating in sage posture with nature energy already responding to his presence. He has your grandfather's patience, Kurama said, and your capacity for love, and Urza's refusal to accept defeat. He's 4, and already better at sitting still than you. Naruto laughed. It was wet. He wiped his eyes. Don't tell Urza I cried. She's watching from the kitchen window. Of course she is. Urza opened the back door and sat beside him. They watched their son meditate in the afternoon light. He's going to surpass us both, Urza said. Probably. That doesn't scare you? No. Naruto leaned against her. That's the whole point. The evening was golden. Naruto sat on the guild roof. The same spot. Always the same spot. The place that had been his from the first night. The place where he'd watched twin moons and missed a world he'd left behind. The place where Urza had first taken off her armor and let him see the person underneath. Kushina was pressed against his right side, her scarlet hair a mess, her whisker marks catching the sunset. She was 7 now, and already being called the Little Disaster by the Magic Council, which she considered a badge of honor. Menma sat cross-legged on his left, eyes half closed, hands on his knees. 5 years old and already more centered than most adults. His blonde hair glowed in the evening light. Urza climbed up and settled behind Naruto. Her arms went around his shoulders. Her chin rested against the side of his head. She wore no armor. She hadn't worn armor at home in years. Below them, the guild was alive. Natsu was breaking a table. Lucy was yelling at him. Gray's shirt was gone. It had been missing for approximately 4 minutes, which was a new record. Juvia was holding it like a trophy. Happy was flying in circles, singing a song of his own invention. Wendy was healing Elfman, who had gotten too close to one of Natsu's tantrums. Gajeel was playing guitar badly, and Levy was pretending to enjoy it. Kana was on her 5th barrel. Makarov sat on the bar and watched it all with the quiet, profound contentment of a man who had built something that would outlast him. It was loud, chaotic, beautiful home. Naruto looked at all of it and he laughed. It wasn't the desperate laugh of a boy sitting on a swing trying to convince the world he was okay. It wasn't the battle laugh of a man hiding fear behind volume. It was just a laugh, easy, real, free. The sound of a man who had exactly what he needed. Kurama stirred in the quiet of his mind. The ancient fox, partner, friend, The grumpy old soldier who had lived for 1,000 years and expressed affection through insults, spoke. His voice was quieter than usual, softer, the voice of something powerful enough to level mountains, choosing instead to be gentle. "You did it, Kit." Naruto leaned back into Urza's arms. His daughter pressed closer against his side. His son breathed steadily in meditation, nature energy humming around him like a lullaby. Below, the guild roared with laughter. Above, the sky over Magnolia was the color of everything good. "Yeah," Naruto said, "we did."
And that's the whole story, from a crater in Hargion to a family in Magnolia. Naruto Uzumaki chose this world. And honestly, can you blame him? If this hit different, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and drop your favorite moment in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one.